At exactly 11:47 p.m., a billionaire CEO made a decision that would destroy her entire empire in less than 12 hours. Ariana Vale stood at the top of a glass tower, days away from absolute corporate victory, when an exhausted single father carrying his sleeping daughter stepped off the elevator with evidence that could save thousands of lives. What happened next wasn't just a firing, it was a public humiliation that would become the biggest mistake of her career. Stay until the end to see how this story ends. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The elevator chimed at 11:47 p.m., and Noah Bennett knew immediately he'd made a terrible mistake. Not coming here, he had to come here. The mistake was believing anyone on the 72nd floor would actually give a damn. His daughter Maya's head rested heavy against his shoulder, her breath warm against his neck. She'd fallen asleep 20 minutes ago in the lobby, still clutching the purple stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 2. Noah had promised her ice cream after this meeting, promised they'd be home by 10, promised a lot of things that weren't going to happen now. The executive floor of Valion Medical Systems looked like something out of a magazine nobody could afford. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed downtown Seattle glittering below like scattered diamonds. The marble floors were so polished, Noah could see his reflection, tired and distorted. Everything here cost more than most people made in a year, and it all felt designed to make you understand exactly how small you were. Noah shifted Maya's weight carefully and checked his phone. Still nothing from Martinez in quality control. Nothing from Chen in manufacturing. Both of them had gone silent 3 hours ago, right after confirming what Noah had suspected for 2 weeks. Someone had tampered with the safety data. Not small tampering, not a rounding error or a misplaced decimal. Someone had deliberately altered testing records for an entire shipment of temperature sensors scheduled to go out to hospitals across 11 states. The kind of sensors that regulated medication storage, blood bank refrigeration, intensive care equipment. The kind where a 2-degree error could kill someone. The kind that had killed his wife. Noah pushed that thought down hard. He couldn't go there. Not tonight, not with Maya sleeping against his shoulder and a folder full of evidence burning a hole under his arm. A woman's voice cut through the silence, sharp and annoyed. "The cleaning crew uses the service elevator?" Noah turned. She stood near the reception desk, mid-30s, blonde hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Executive assistant, probably. The kind who protected their boss's time like a medieval guard. "I'm not cleaning crew," Noah said quietly, conscious of Maya stirring slightly. "I'm Noah Bennett. I have information for Ms. Vale about—" "Ms. Vale is preparing for tomorrow's board meeting." The woman didn't even look up from her tablet. "Submit your concerns through proper channels." "I tried proper channels. For 2 weeks. Nobody's responding." "Then your concerns probably aren't urgent." Noah felt something hot flicker in his chest. He'd been dismissed by people like this his whole life. People who decided your worth based on your shoes, your suit, the way you pronounce certain words. He'd learned to swallow it, mostly. Learned to smile and nod and find another way. But not tonight. "Urgent enough that people could die," Noah said, louder now. Maya shifted against him, making a small sound. He lowered his voice. "I need 5 minutes. That's all." The assistant finally looked up. Her gaze traveled from Noah's worn boots to his faded jacket to the sleeping child in his arms, and her expression shifted from annoyed to something worse. Pity mixed with contempt. "Security is on 34, she said. "I can call them, or you can leave on your own." Before Noah could respond, a door opened behind the reception desk. "Jessica, I asked you to—" The woman who emerged stopped mid-sentence, her eyes landing on Noah. "Who's this?" Noah had seen Ariana Vale before, obviously. Everyone who worked for Valion knew what she looked like. Company emails, quarterly presentations, that Forbes cover from last year. But photographs didn't capture the presence she carried, the way she seemed to pull all the air in the room toward her. She was younger than he'd expected. 30, maybe 31, dark hair, sharp features, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than Noah's car. But it was her eyes that caught him. Not cold, exactly. More like calculating. Like she was already 3 moves ahead in a game he didn't know he was playing. "Noah Bennett," he said, shifting Maya again. His arm was going numb. "I'm a contractor with Systems Audit. I have evidence of data manipulation in the—" "Contractor," Ariana repeated, and the word sounded different in her mouth. smaller. It's nearly midnight, Mr. Bennett. We have procedures for, The procedures aren't working. Noah cut her off, and he saw her eyebrows rise slightly. People probably didn't interrupt Ariana Vale very often. I've been trying to report this for 2 weeks. Emails, calls, formal requests. Everything gets redirected or ignored. So I'm here now because tomorrow morning you have a board meeting where you're going to approve a shipment that shouldn't leave the building. Ariana's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture. She glanced at Jessica, then back to Noah. You brought your daughter to the executive floor at midnight to discuss a work concern? The way she said it, like he was the one being inappropriate, like he was the problem here. Her babysitter had an emergency, Noah said, hating how defensive he sounded. And yes, I brought her because this can't wait until tomorrow. By tomorrow, that shipment gets board approval. By next week, it's in hospitals. Thus, by next month, Mr. Bennett, Ariana's voice went cooler. I appreciate your dedication, but ambushing executives outside business hours isn't how things work here. Jessica will give you an email address where you can submit I have a formal report. Noah pulled the folder from under his arm, careful not to wake Maya. Temperature sensor batch TS447. Testing data shows consistent performance within acceptable ranges. Except the raw data doesn't match the summary reports. Someone changed the numbers. He held out the folder. Ariana looked at it like he was offering her a dead fish. Someone changed the numbers, she repeated, her tone making it clear what she thought of that claim. And you discovered this how exactly? I ran parallel tests, cross-referenced the raw sensor outputs with what got submitted to quality control. The deviations are small, but they're there. 1 to 3 degrees across the entire batch. Doesn't sound like much until you realize these sensors regulate. I know what they regulate, Mr. Bennett. Ariana's patience was visibly thinning. I also know we have entire departments dedicated to quality control, multiple layers of review, independent auditing. You're suggesting all of that failed and only you noticed? I'm saying someone bypassed all of that. Noah's arm was really going numb now. Look, I know how this sounds, but the evidence is right here. 5 minutes. That's all I need. For a moment, he thought she might actually take the folder. Her hand moved slightly, and something flickered across her face. Curiosity, maybe, or calculation. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and whatever opening had existed slammed shut. I have 17 reports to review before tomorrow's meeting, Ariana said. A presentation to 3 board members who are looking for any excuse to vote against me, and 100 other things more pressing than conspiracy theories from a contractor I've never met. She looked at Maya, still sleeping against Noah's shoulder. Go home, Mr. Bennett. Put your daughter to bed. Submit your concerns through proper channels. If there's any validity to them, someone will follow up. Nobody's going to follow up, Noah said. That's the point. Someone buried this deliberately. Someone with enough access to manipulate the data and enough authority to make sure nobody asks questions. Ariana's expression went flat. Are you suggesting someone in my company is deliberately compromising patient safety? The way she said my company sent a clear message. This wasn't a business to her, it was territory, and Noah was trespassing. I'm saying the data doesn't lie, Noah said, but the reports do. And if that shipment goes out tomorrow, thank you for your input, Mr. Bennett. Ariana turned toward her office. Jessica, please escort Mr. Bennett to... My wife died because of faulty medical equipment. The words came out harder than Noah intended. Ariana stopped, her back still to him. 3 years ago, Noah continued, his voice rough. Post-surgery monitoring system. Temperature regulation failed during recovery. Nobody noticed until it was too late. The manufacturer had buried 6 previous incidents, 6 warnings that got ignored because shipping delays would have hurt quarterly profits. He stepped forward, folder still extended. I'm not here to waste your time, Ms. Vale. I'm here because I've seen what happens when people decide profits matter more than patients. And I'm looking at the same pattern in this data. The same deliberate blindness. The same... Enough. Ariana turned, and the look on her face made Noah take an involuntary step back. I'm sorry about your wife, Mr. Bennett. Truly. But personal tragedy doesn't give you the right to storm into my office at midnight making accusations you can't prove. She gestured at the folder. You have data anomalies. That could mean a dozen things. Equipment calibration, operator error, normal statistical variation. It doesn't mean conspiracy. It means something's wrong, Noah insisted. And if you just look, I don't have time to chase shadows tonight. Ariana's voice went sharp. Tomorrow is the most important board meeting of my career. Everything I've built for the last 5 years comes down to the next 12 hours. So forgive me if I'm not derailing all of that based on the gut feeling of a part-time contractor who thinks he knows my business better than I do. The dismissal in her voice ignited something in Noah's chest.
This isn't about your career, but, he said, louder now. Maya stirred, making a small, whimpering sound. He lowered his voice but couldn't keep the edge out. This is about people, real people. Patients who trust that when they plug in a Valion sensor, it's going to work correctly, that someone actually checked, that someone gave a damn about more than stock prices and board meetings. Ariana's eyes went cold. You need to leave now, not until you look at this. Noah thrust the folder forward. 5 minutes, just, I said leave. Ariana's voice cut like glass. Or I'll have security remove you and your daughter from the building. The threat hung in the air. Noah became acutely aware of Jessica watching from the reception desk, of the empty office stretching around them, of Maya still asleep against his shoulder, completely innocent in all of this. He'd miscalculated. Badly. He'd thought if he could just get in front of her, show her the evidence, appeal to whatever sense of responsibility a CEO must have buried somewhere. But he'd been wrong. Ariana Vale didn't care about evidence. She cared about control, about her board meeting, about maintaining the perfect image of a company that never made mistakes. Noah looked at the folder in his hand. 2 weeks of work, hours of testing, proof that could save lives, and she wouldn't even touch it. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. The only mistake was made by whoever gave you clearance to this floor. Ariana pulled out her phone. Jessica, call security. Have Mr. Bennett removed from the premises, immediately. Something snapped in Noah. Not violently, more like a cable pulled too tight finally giving way. He'd tried proper channels. He'd followed procedures. He'd done everything right, everything by the book, and it had gotten him exactly nowhere. Just like before, just like always. The system wasn't designed to catch problems, it was designed to bury them. You want me gone? Noah's voice came out flat, cold. Fine, I'm gone. He stepped forward and dropped the folder on the reception desk. Papers scattered across the polished surface, some sliding onto the floor. Test results. Data comparisons. Evidence that would mean nothing to anyone who didn't want to see it. But when those sensors fail, Noah said, meeting Ariana's eyes, when someone's mother or daughter or wife ends up dead because a temperature reading was off by 3 degrees, remember this moment. Remember that someone tried to warn you, that someone stood right here with proof, and you were too worried about your career to listen. Ariana's expression didn't change, but her hand tightened on her phone. Are you threatening me, Mr. Bennett? I'm telling you the truth. Noah adjusted Maya carefully. She was starting to wake up, making confused sounds against his shoulder. But you're right about one thing. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. Just not the way you think. He turned toward the elevator, legs heavy with exhaustion and something worse than anger. Disappointment, maybe. Or recognition. The understanding that some battles couldn't be won by being right. Some people would never listen until the consequences became unavoidable. Daddy? Maya's voice was small and sleepy. Where are we? We're leaving, sweetheart, Noah said softly. Go back to sleep. Behind him, he heard Ariana's voice. Jessica, make sure his access badge is deactivated and send a memo to HR. Mr. Bennett's contract is terminated effective immediately. Security violations and gross insubordination. Noah paused at the elevator, his finger hovering over the button. He should just go, walk away, let it burn. He'd tried. Nobody could say he hadn't tried. But then he thought about the hospitals, the patients, the families who would never know how close they'd come to disaster, the families who wouldn't be close at all. He turned back. Ariana was already heading to her office, the scattered papers on the floor, apparently beneath her notice. Ms. Vale? She stopped but didn't turn around. By tomorrow morning, Noah said quietly, you'll understand what happens when people stop listening to the truth. Ariana glanced back, her expression unreadable. Is that another threat? It's a promise. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. Noah stepped inside, Maya's weight warm against his shoulder, and pressed the button for the ground floor.
The last thing he saw before the doors closed was Ariana Vale standing in the middle of her perfect executive suite, surrounded by scattered evidence she'd refused to see. The elevator descended, and Noah felt Maya shift against him.
"Daddy, you're sad," she mumbled, her hand finding his shirt collar. "Yeah, baby, I'm a little sad." "Did the mean lady yell at you?" Noah almost laughed. Almost. "Something like that. You should tell her boss. When people are mean, you tell their boss." If only it were that simple. If only the mean lady didn't have a boss. At least not one who could stop what was about to happen. The elevator reached the ground floor. Rain was hammering against the lobby windows, turning the street outside into a blur of headlights and neon. Noah's car was 4 blocks away in the contractor parking lot. He hadn't brought an umbrella. "Can we get ice cream now?" Maya asked hopefully. "Ice cream shops are closed, sweetheart. It's really late. You promised." "I know, I'm sorry." He pushed through the lobby doors into the rain. It was colder than he'd expected, immediately soaking through his jacket. Maya yelped and buried her face against his neck. "I don't like the rain, Daddy." "I know. We'll be in the car soon." 4 blocks felt like 4 miles. By the time Noah reached the parking lot, he was drenched. Maya was crying now, cold and tired and confused about why they were walking in the rain instead of getting ice cream like he'd promised. He got her buckled into the car seat, found an old sweatshirt in the trunk to wrap around her, turned the heat up high. She was still crying, hiccuping between sobs. "I want to go home. I want to go home, Daddy." "We're going home right now," Noah said, but he didn't start the car. He sat in the driver's seat, rain hammering on the roof, and stared at the glowing tower rising 72 floors above him. Somewhere up there, Ariana Vale was preparing for her triumphant board meeting, reviewing reports, practicing presentations, completely unaware that the foundation she stood on was already crumbling. Noah pulled out his phone. He had one email draft prepared and ready. One final report. Not to anyone at Valion, not to the board, to someone who would actually listen. His finger hovered over the send button. This would burn bridges, kill his reputation in the industry, mark him as a troublemaker, a whistleblower, someone who couldn't be trusted to stay quiet when things got messy. He'd never work in corporate systems again. But people would live. Maya's crying had softened to sniffles. She was clutching her purple rabbit, her eyes drooping with exhaustion. "Daddy, are you fired?" Noah closed his eyes. "Yeah, baby. I think I am." "Is that bad?" Was it bad? Losing a job that barely paid the bills? Losing access to a company that had ignored every warning he'd tried to give? Losing the chance to work for people who valued appearances over lives? "No," Noah said quietly. "It's not bad." He pressed send. The email went out at 12:34 a.m. Not to Valion's internal systems, where it could be buried or deleted. To the Federal Medical Device Safety Board. To 3 investigative journalists he'd worked with before. To the legal team representing the families of patients harmed by Valion's previous oversights. All of them received the same attachments. The testing data. The manipulated reports. The emails showing deliberate suppression of safety concerns. Everything Noah had compiled over 2 weeks of careful, methodical investigation. And one more thing. A recording. Noah had worn a wire tonight. Not because he planned to. Because he always wore a wire when investigating corporations. Years of experience had taught him that people would deny everything unless you had their exact words, captured and undeniable. He'd recorded every second of his conversation with Ariana Vale, her dismissal, her refusal to look at evidence, her admission that tomorrow's board meeting was more important than patient safety, her ordering him removed from the building for trying to report a legitimate concern. By morning, that recording would be in the hands of people who could actually do something with it. Noah started the car. Rain blurred the windshield, turning the city into an abstract painting of light and dark. Maya was asleep again in the back seat, her rabbit clutched tight. "I'm sorry," Noah said to no one in particular. To Maya, maybe, to himself. To every family who would never know how close they'd come to tragedy. "I tried to do this the right way." But the right way didn't work. It never did. The system wasn't broken. The system was working exactly as designed, to protect the people at the top, no matter what it cost everyone else.
Noah pulled out of the parking lot and headed for home. Behind him, Valion Medical Systems rose like a monument to everything wrong with the world. Beautiful and cold and completely oblivious to the storm that was already coming. By tomorrow morning, Ariana Vale would understand. By tomorrow morning, everything would be different. The apartment was dark when they got home. Noah carried Maya inside, still wrapped in his sweatshirt, and tucked her into bed without changing her clothes. She was out before her head hit the pillow. He stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep. She looked so much like her mother. Same dark curls, same small nose, same way of curling up on her left side with one hand under her cheek. 3 years. Sometimes it felt like yesterday. Sometimes it felt like a lifetime ago. "I'm trying," Noah whispered. "I'm trying to make it mean something." The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. Noah went to the kitchen and pulled out the bottle of whiskey he kept for nights when the memories got too loud. He poured 2 fingers, then put the bottle away. Drinking wouldn't help. It never did. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Got your email." Holy shit. "Call me ASAP." That would be Martinez from the FMDSB. Noah had worked with him on 2 previous cases, both of which had resulted in massive recalls and executive prosecutions. Martinez was one of the few government investigators who actually gave a damn. Noah called. Martinez picked up on the first ring. "Please tell me this data is verified," Martinez said without preamble. "Independently tested 3 times. Cross-referenced with original equipment outputs. It's solid." "And the recording?" "Tonight. Less than an hour ago." Martinez swore softly. "You confronted the CEO directly? What were you thinking?" "I was thinking she'd care more about patient safety than board meetings. I was wrong. You know she's going to come after you for this. Corporate defamation, breach of contract, probably half a dozen other things." "Let her try." Noah took a sip of whiskey. It burned going down. "The data speaks for itself. Data gets buried every day, Noah. You know that. We need more than numbers. You have her own words admitting tomorrow's meeting is more important than investigating safety concerns. You have evidence of deliberate data manipulation. You have testimony from quality control employees who were pressured to sign off on reports they knew were wrong." Noah set down his glass. "What more do you need?" "Time," Martinez said. "This is a major corporation, billions in revenue, political connections, high-powered lawyers. Even with everything you've given me, this is going to be a fight." "How long?" "To launch a formal investigation? I can have preliminary injunctions filed by morning, block the shipment, freeze the data, preserve evidence. But a full investigation?" Martinez paused. 6 months minimum, maybe longer. 6 months. Half a year of legal battles, depositions, corporate stonewalling. Half a year of Valion's lawyers doing everything possible to discredit Noah, destroy his reputation, make him wish he'd never gotten involved. "Do it," Noah said. "You sure? Once I file these injunctions, there's no going back. Valion will know exactly who provided the evidence. They'll come after you with everything they have." Noah thought about Maya, sleeping in the next room, about the promise he'd made to her mother, about all the families who would never have to make the same choice. "I'm sure." "All right." Martinez's voice shifted, becoming more formal. "For the record, I'm initiating a formal investigation into Valion Medical Systems based on credible evidence of safety data manipulation, filing for emergency injunctions to prevent shipment of potentially compromised equipment, and requesting full audit of internal quality control procedures." "How long until Valion finds out?" "They probably already know. Your email went to enough people that someone's going to make a call. My guess, you've got about 3 hours before all hell breaks loose." "Good." Martinez laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're either the bravest guy I've ever met or the craziest." "Maybe both." They hung up. Noah sat in the dark kitchen, whiskey growing warm in his glass. 3 hours until the storm hit. 3 hours until Valion's lawyers and PR team and corporate fixers all descended on the problem of Noah Bennett. He should sleep, should rest while he could. Tomorrow was going to be brutal, but sleep felt impossible. Noah's mind kept replaying the confrontation on the executive floor, the look in Ariana Vale's eyes when she'd dismissed him, the casual cruelty of someone who'd never had to face real consequences. That was about to change. Noah pulled up news sites on his phone. Nothing yet. The story wouldn't break until morning when the injunctions hit and Valion stock started sliding. When board members started getting calls from lawyers and investigators. When Ariana Vale walked into her triumphant meeting and found a very different kind of audience waiting. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a number he recognized. Jessica Chen from manufacturing, one of the engineers who'd confirmed the data manipulation but been too afraid to go public. I heard what you did. They're going to destroy you. Noah typed back, let them try. I'm serious. I've seen what Valion does to whistleblowers. Legal threats. Blacklisting. They'll make sure you never work again. Worth it. A long pause. Then, thank you. For what it's worth. Noah stared at those 3 words. Thank you. Like it was some noble sacrifice instead of just doing the right thing. But maybe that's what it had become. Maybe in a world where corporations could kill people and call it acceptable risk, actually giving a damn was revolutionary. He finished his whiskey and went to check on Maya one more time. She'd kicked off her blanket. Noah pulled it back up, tucked her rabbit closer, smoothed the hair from her forehead. We're going to be okay, he whispered. I promise. It was the same promise he'd made every night since her mother died. Some days he believed it more than others. Tonight, drenched in rain and facing corporate warfare, it felt more like hope than certainty. But hope was enough. It had to be. Noah went to his own room and lay down fully clothed. Sleep still felt impossible, but he closed his eyes anyway. Tomorrow would come whether he was ready or not. Somewhere across the city, Ariana Vale was probably still working, still preparing, still completely unaware that her perfect world was about to shatter. Noah's last conscious thought was wondering if she'd even remember his name when the board called for her removal. Wunk. Ariana Vale had always believed in preparation. At 2:17 a.m., she sat at her desk reviewing the quarterly reports for the 7th time, every number memorized, every projection polished, every potential question anticipated and answered. Tomorrow's board meeting would be perfect. It had to be. Ms. Vale? Ariana looked up. Jessica stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. You should have left hours ago, Ariana said. You're still here. I'm preparing for the most important meeting of my career. You're... What, exactly? Jessica held up her tablet. Getting calls. A lot of them. From board members. Ariana's stomach tightened. At 2 in the morning? They're asking about temperature sensors. Batch TS447. And someone named Noah Bennett. The name sent a spike of irritation through Ariana's chest. That contractor. The one with the daughter and the conspiracy theories and the dramatic pronouncements about truth. What about him? Apparently he filed some kind of formal complaint with the Federal Medical Device Safety Board and sent documentation to the press and... Jessica looked down at her tablet. Recorded your conversation tonight. The words didn't make sense at first. Ariana heard them, but they seemed to arrive in the wrong order, like a sentence with missing pieces. He what? Recorded your conversation. The whole thing. It's being cited in an emergency injunction to block tomorrow's shipment. Ariana stood up so fast her chair rolled backward. That's impossible. He was a contractor, a nobody. He doesn't have the authority to... He has evidence, Jessica interrupted quietly. Testing data showing manipulation of safety records. Testimony from quality control employees. Emails showing internal pressure to approve shipments despite concerns. And a recording of you refusing to investigate because of tomorrow's board meeting. The floor seemed to tilt slightly. Ariana gripped the edge of her desk. The board knows? Everyone knows. The injunction was filed an hour ago. It's already making rounds in the industry press. By morning, it'll be mainstream news. No, this couldn't be happening. Not tonight. Not when everything was finally coming together. Get legal on the phone, Ariana said, now, and PR. And they're already working on it. But Ms. Vale, Jessica's voice went softer. The evidence is pretty damning. The recording alone... I didn't do anything wrong. Ariana heard the edge in her own voice. He ambushed me at midnight with unsubstantiated claims. I followed proper protocol by telling him to submit through appropriate channels. While knowing those channels had already failed. Ariana's head snapped up. Excuse me? Jessica looked uncomfortable but didn't back down. The report mentions 2 weeks of ignored communications, multiple attempts to escalate, deliberate suppression of safety concerns, And your response on recording was that tomorrow's meeting mattered more than investigating. I didn't say that. You said tomorrow was the most important meeting of your career, that you didn't have time to chase shadows. That personal tragedy didn't give him the right to... Jessica stopped. It's all on the recording, Ms. Vale. Ariana felt something cold spreading through her chest. This was wrong. This was all wrong. She'd done everything right. She'd built this company from near bankruptcy to a multi-billion-dollar valuation. She'd made the hard decisions, cut the inefficiencies, streamlined the processes, and now some bitter contractor with a grudge was going to destroy it all because she wouldn't entertain his paranoid theories. Get me that recording, Ariana said. I want to hear exactly what he's claiming I said. Jessica's expression suggested that was a bad idea, but she pulled it up on her tablet anyway. Ariana's own voice filled the office. Cold, dismissive. Everything she'd said to Noah Bennett played back without the context of exhaustion and pressure and the 100 other things on her mind. Tomorrow is the most important board meeting of my career. Everything I've built for the last 5 years comes down to the next 12 hours. It sounded worse than she remembered, harsher, more callous. I don't have time to chase shadows tonight. Personal tragedy doesn't give you the right to storm into my office at midnight making accusations you can't prove. I'm not derailing all of that based on the gut feeling of a part-time contractor who thinks he knows my business better than I do. Jessica stopped the recording. Silence filled the office. There's more, Jessica said quietly. But you get the idea. Ariana sat down slowly. Her perfect preparation, her meticulous planning, her absolutely unshakable control, all of it crumbling because she'd dismissed a man in a cheap jacket carrying his sleeping daughter. How bad is this? Ariana asked. Jessica didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. The injunction blocks the shipment pending investigation. The board is meeting at 7 a.m. to discuss. And the press is already calling this the biggest medical device safety scandal since... Don't. Ariana held up a hand. Don't finish that sentence. Her phone buzzed, then buzzed again and again. Board members, lawyers, PR consultants, everyone who'd been celebrating her imminent victory now scrambling to contain the disaster. Ariana picked up her phone and saw 17 missed calls, 23 new emails, all received in the last 30 minutes. At the top of her inbox, a message from Board Chairman Richard Harwell. Emergency meeting, 7 a.m., attendance mandatory, not a request, a summons. Ariana looked at Jessica, still standing in the doorway. You should go home, Ariana said quietly. Get some rest. What are you going to do? Good question. What was she going to do? The playbook she'd spent her entire career mastering didn't have a chapter for this. For being outmaneuvered by a contractor she'd dismissed as beneath her notice. For having her own words weaponized into evidence of negligence. I'm going to fix this, Ariana said, but even she could hear how hollow it sounded. Jessica left. Ariana sat alone in her perfect office, surrounded by the scattered papers Noah Bennett had dropped on the reception desk. She hadn't picked them up, hadn't even looked at them. Now, at 2:47 in the morning, she bent down and gathered them. Test results, data comparisons, analysis showing systematic deviation between raw sensor outputs and reported values, everything meticulously documented, cross-referenced, verified. And a handwritten note on the last page. I tried to do this the right way. You didn't leave me a choice. Ariana read that sentence 3 times. He'd tried. He had. 2 weeks of attempts, proper channels, following protocol. Everything she'd told him to do, he'd already done. And she'd dismissed him anyway. Not because his evidence was wrong, because listening would have been inconvenient, because it would have disrupted her timeline, because a contractor in worn boots carrying his daughter didn't fit the image of someone worth taking seriously. Ariana set down the papers and looked at her reflection in the dark windows. 30 years old, self-made billionaire, CEO of a company she'd rebuilt from nothing. And in 12 hours, possibly none of that would matter. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a news alert. Breaking. Federal investigators halt Valion medical shipment over safety concerns. Emergency injunctions filed following whistleblower report. Whistleblower. That's what they were calling him. Noah Bennett, the nobody contractor with the sleeping daughter, was now a whistleblower. A hero exposing corporate negligence. and Ariana was the villain who'd tried to silence him. She picked up her phone and pulled up Noah's personnel file. 32 years old. Widower. Single father. Previously worked as a senior corporate risk investigator before stepping back to part-time contract work. That last part caught her attention. Senior corporate risk investigator. Not some random contractor stumbling onto anomalies. Someone with actual expertise. Someone who knew exactly what he was looking at. Someone she should have listened to. Ariana scrolled further. Employment history showed positions at 3 major corporations, all in risk assessment and safety compliance. Letters of recommendation from executives praising his thoroughness and integrity. No complaints, no disciplinary actions. Nothing to suggest someone prone to conspiracy theories or dramatic exaggerations. Just someone who knew his job and tried to do it right. Ariana closed the file and stared at her ceiling. Somewhere in this city, Noah Bennett was probably sleeping. Or maybe he was awake too, wondering if he'd just destroyed his own career to save strangers he'd never meet. And tomorrow morning, they'd both walk into that board meeting and discover what happened when someone finally forced the truth into the light. Whether anyone was ready for it or not. Noah woke up at 5:43 a.m. to Maya jumping on his bed. "Daddy, you're still wearing your shoes." He was. He'd fallen asleep fully clothed, phone still in his hand, whiskey glass empty on the nightstand. His mouth tasted like something had died in it. "What time is it?" Noah mumbled, even though he could see the clock. "I don't know, I'm 6. I can't tell time good yet." Maya bounced again, her purple rabbit flying. "Can we have pancakes?" Noah sat up, his back screaming in protest. Every muscle felt tight, like he'd spent the night fighting instead of sleeping, which, in a way, he had. "Yeah, baby, pancakes sound good." His phone showed 47 missed calls, 62 emails, text messages rolling in so fast the notifications couldn't keep up. Martinez, journalists, lawyers, former colleagues, people Noah hadn't spoken to in 3 years, suddenly very interested in his opinion. And one voicemail from a number he didn't recognize left at 4:18 a.m. Noah put it on speaker while Maya ran to the kitchen, already pulling out the pancake mix. "Mr. Bennett, this is Richard Harwell, chairman of Valeon's board of directors." The voice was older, measured, the kind that carried authority without raising volume. "I'd like to speak with you before this morning's emergency meeting. Please call me back at your earliest convenience." The message ended. Noah stared at his phone. The board chairman, calling him directly. At 4 a.m, this was either very good or catastrophically bad. "Daddy, I can't reach the bowl." Noah dragged himself to the kitchen. Maya had already made a mess, pancake mix scattered across the counter like someone had detonated a flour bomb. She stood on a chair, stretching toward the cabinet. "I got it." Noah pulled down the mixing bowl. "How about you crack the eggs?" Maya's face lit up. Cracking eggs was her favorite part, mostly because she was terrible at it and always got shells everywhere. While she demolished 2 eggs with the enthusiasm of a tiny demolition expert, Noah called Harwell back. He picked up on the first ring. "Mr. Bennett? Thank you for returning my call." "Didn't expect to hear from the board directly," Noah said, fishing eggshell fragments out of the bowl. "These are unusual circumstances." Harwell's voice gave nothing away. "I've spent the last 3 hours reviewing the evidence you submitted. The testing data, the recordings, the testimony from our quality control staff." Noah waited. Maya was stirring the batter with enough force to qualify as a workout. "It's damning," Harwell continued. "All of it. I won't insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise." "So you believe me?" "I believe the data, which raises some difficult questions about how this situation was allowed to deteriorate so completely." A pause. "Questions I'd like to discuss with you in person, before the board meeting." "Why?" "Because you're the only person in this entire mess who seems to have been telling the truth from the beginning. And frankly, Mr. Bennett, I'd like to understand how a part-time contractor noticed what our entire quality control department missed." Maya was making airplane noises while stirring, batter flying everywhere. Noah grabbed a towel. "I noticed because I was looking," Noah said. "Most people don't want to see problems. They want to see everything working perfectly." "Is that what you think happened here? People chose not to see?" "I think people saw exactly what they were incentivized to see. Clean reports, on-time shipments, quarterly targets met. Nobody gets promoted for finding problems. They get promoted for making problems disappear. Harwell made a sound that might have been agreement or indigestion. The board meeting is at 7, he said. I'd like you there. Not as an observer, as a participant. Noah almost dropped the phone. You want me at the board meeting? I want the person who actually understands what went wrong to explain it to the board. Ms. Vale will have her lawyers, her prepared statements, her explanations for why none of this is her fault. I'd like someone present who can speak to the facts. I'm not exactly dressed for a board meeting. I don't care what you're wearing, Mr. Bennett. I care whether you're willing to stand up in front of 12 very angry board members and tell them the same things you told federal investigators. Maya had stopped stirring and was watching Noah with wide eyes, sensing something important happening. Will I need a lawyer? Noah asked. Probably, but that's not really my concern. My concern is understanding how badly we've failed and what we need to do to fix it. So I'll ask again. Will you be there? Noah looked at Maya, batter in her hair, eggshells on her shirt, completely innocent and trusting that her dad knew what he was doing. He had no idea what he was doing. I'll be there, Noah said. Good. I'll have security clear you at the executive entrance, 7 a.m. sharp. Harwell paused. And Mr. Bennett? Bring the evidence, all of it. Not the sanitized version you sent to investigators. Everything. The line went dead. Noah set down his phone and looked at the pancake disaster covering his kitchen. Is the mean lady going to yell at you again? Maya asked. Probably. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. But I helped last time. Noah knelt down to her level. Batter was literally everywhere. On the counter, on the floor, somehow on the ceiling. Baby, this isn't something you can help with. This is grown-up business stuff. You always say that when things are scary. She wasn't wrong. It's not scary, Noah lied. It's just boring. Lots of people talking about numbers and reports. You'd hate it. Maya considered this, then nodded. Can Mrs. Patterson watch me? Mrs. Patterson was their neighbor, a retired teacher who occasionally babysat when Noah's regular sitter wasn't available. She also made amazing cookies and let Maya watch cartoons Noah normally restricted. I'll call her, Noah said, but first we need to salvage these pancakes. They managed to produce something vaguely pancake-shaped, though produce might be generous. Noah burned the first batch. The second batch came out raw in the middle. The third batch was acceptable if you didn't look too closely. Maya ate hers with enough syrup to qualify as a swimming pool, chattering about a dream she'd had involving talking rabbits and a castle made of cheese. Noah let her talk, grateful for the normalcy. In 2 hours, he'd be walking back into Valian's executive tower, back into the same building where Ariana Vale had dismissed him like an inconvenient pest. Except this time, he wouldn't be alone. This time, the board would be listening. His phone rang again. Martinez, tell me you're not actually going to that board meeting, Martinez said without preamble. Good morning to you too. Noah, this is insane. You go into that building without legal representation, they're going to eat you alive. Valian's lawyers have probably been up all night preparing ways to discredit you. Harwell asked me to come, said he wants someone who can speak to the facts. Harwell is covering his own ass. The board is facing a massive scandal. They're looking for someone to blame, and you just made yourself a very convenient target. Noah scraped burned pancake off the griddle. So what's the alternative? Hide? Let them control the narrative? The alternative is you let the investigation play out. Let the evidence speak for itself. You've already done your part. Have I? Noah turned off the stove. Because from where I'm standing, I submitted a report and sent some emails. That's not the same as making sure things actually change. You can't change a corporation from the inside, Noah, especially not one where you just got fired. Maybe, but I can make it a lot harder for them to sweep this under the rug. Martinez sighed, the sound of someone who'd had this argument before and lost. Fine, but I'm sending someone from our legal team to meet you there. Don't say anything, don't sign anything, don't agree to anything without running it past them first. Understood? Understood. And Noah, watch your back. These people play a different game than you're used to. They hung up. Maya was covered in syrup, grinning like she'd won the lottery. Bath time, Noah announced. But I'm not dirty. You're 90% syrup right now. You're basically a pancake. She giggled, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Just a dad and his daughter, sticky kitchen and all. Not a whistleblower about to walk into corporate warfare. An hour later, Maya was clean and deposited at Mrs. Patterson's apartment with strict instructions about bedtime and screen time that Noah knew would be completely ignored. Mrs. Patterson pressed a thermos of coffee into his hands. "You look terrible, dear." "Thanks, Mrs. Patterson. Really feeling the support." "I mean, you look exhausted. Are you sure you should be going to work today?" Noah thought about explaining that he didn't technically have work anymore, that he was walking into a board meeting for a company that had fired him 12 hours ago, that he was possibly about to commit career suicide for the second time in 24 hours. "It's important," he said instead. Mrs. Patterson studied him with the expression of someone who'd taught middle school for 30 years and could spot bullshit from orbit. "Important enough to risk everything?" "Yeah," Noah said quietly. "It is." She nodded, satisfied. "Then you'd better not be late." The drive to Valion felt different in daylight. The tower didn't look as imposing, just glass and steel and architecture, same as any other corporate building. But Noah's hand still tightened on the wheel as he pulled into the parking garage. He was wearing his only suit, the one he'd bought for his wife's funeral, and barely touched since. It didn't fit quite right anymore. Too loose in some places, too tight in others. The tie felt like a noose. The executive entrance had a security guard Noah didn't recognize. Young guy, maybe 25, who looked at Noah like he was something potentially explosive. "Name?" "Noah Bennett. I'm here for the board meeting." "Yeah, we got the memo." The guard checked his tablet. "Mr. Harwell left instructions. You're cleared for the 72nd floor." He handed Noah a visitor badge. "Keep this visible at all times. Don't wander. If you need the restroom, ask security to escort you." "Seriously?" "You're probably the most controversial person in this building right now, Mr. Bennett. Half the company wants to shake your hand. The other half wants to throw you off the roof. So yeah. Seriously." The elevator ride up felt eternal. Noah watched the floor numbers climb, each one bringing him closer to whatever was waiting. His reflection in the polished doors looked pale, tired, like someone who'd aged 10 years overnight. The doors opened at 72. Last night, this floor had been almost empty. Just Ariana and her assistant and the scattered evidence Noah had dropped on the reception desk. Now it was chaos. People everywhere. Lawyers in expensive suits carrying briefcases. PR consultants speaking in hushed, urgent tones. Board members arriving in clusters, their expressions ranging from furious to terrified. And security. So much security. Noah stepped out of the elevator and immediately felt every eye in the hallway turn toward him. A woman approached, mid-40s, carrying a leather portfolio that probably cost more than Noah's car. "Mr. Bennett? I'm Sarah Chen from the Federal Medical Device Safety Board's legal team. Martinez sent me." She handed him a business card. "From this point forward, you don't answer any questions without consulting me first. If anyone approaches you, refers them to me. If anyone asks you to sign anything, the answer is no. Clear?" "Crystal." "Good. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. Until then, stay close and don't engage with anyone from Valion's legal team. They're going to try to intimidate you. Don't let them." As if on cue, 3 men in matching navy suits materialized from an office nearby. The lead one, silver-haired and radiating expensive education, fixed Noah with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Bennett, James Rothstein, General Counsel for Valion Medical Systems. I wonder if we might have a word in private." "No," Sarah said flatly. Rothstein's smile didn't waver. "I'm sorry. And you are?" "Federal Legal Counsel, and my client won't be speaking with you or anyone from Valion without proper representation and documentation." "Your client." Rothstein's tone made it sound like a joke. "Mr. Bennett, you do understand that you're currently in violation of at least 3 contractual agreements you signed when accepting employment here? Non-disclosure provisions, confidentiality clauses, the unauthorized recording of a private conversation with a corporate officer. The conversation where your CEO admitted patient safety was less important than a board meeting?" Sarah's voice could have cut glass. "That conversation?" Rothstein's smile finally slipped. "We're prepared to be reasonable," he said, addressing Noah directly. "These situations can get messy, expensive, drawn out for years, but if you're willing to cooperate, we can find a resolution that works for everyone." "Cooperate meaning shut up," Noah said. Cooperate meaning recognize that you may have misunderstood certain things. That taken out of context, conversations can seem more damning than they actually were. That perhaps you acted hastily out of understandable grief over your wife's death. Don't. Noah's voice came out harder than he intended. Don't you dare use her like that. Sarah stepped between them. This conversation is over. Mr. Bennett has nothing to say to you or your client. If Valion wants to pursue legal action, file the paperwork. Otherwise, get out of our way. Rothstein studied Noah for a long moment, his expression calculating. This didn't have to be adversarial, Mr. Bennett. You could have come to us quietly. Instead, you chose scorched earth. I hope you're prepared for what that means. He walked away, his legal team following like well-dressed sharks. Sarah turned to Noah. You okay? They're going to bury me, aren't they? They're going to try. Whether they succeed depends on how strong the evidence is and whether you can keep your composure in there. She nodded toward the boardroom. Martinez says you're solid, that you don't rattle easily. Is that true? Noah thought about last night, about Ariana Vale dismissing him while Maya slept against his shoulder, about driving home in the rain, knowing he was about to destroy any chance of working in this industry again. I'm terrified, Noah said honestly. But I'm here anyway. Does that count? Sarah almost smiled. Yeah, that counts. The boardroom doors opened and Richard Harwell emerged. He was older than Noah expected, maybe 70, with white hair and the kind of face that had seen too many corporate battles. But his eyes were sharp, assessing. Mr. Bennett, thank you for coming. Harwell's handshake was firm. I trust Ms. Chen has briefed you? Briefed and terrified me in equal measure. Harwell's mouth twitched. Good. Fear keeps you honest. Come on, we're about to start. The boardroom was exactly what Noah expected. Long table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city. 12 board members already seated, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. And at the far end of the table, looking like she hadn't slept any more than Noah had, was Ariana Vale. She saw him and went very still. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe? Or recognition that this was really happening. Please sit. Harwell gestured to a chair near the head of the table. Not at the table itself, Noah noticed. Close enough to participate, far enough to make clear he wasn't actually one of them. Noah sat. Sarah took the chair beside him, her portfolio open and ready. Harwell called the meeting to order. We're here to address the emergency injunction filed against Valion Medical Systems regarding temperature sensor batch TS447. For those who spent last night reading the same reports I did, you know this is serious. For those who didn't, his gaze swept the table. It's about to get very uncomfortable. One of the board members, a woman in her 60s wearing pearls that probably cost more than Noah's house, spoke up. Before we begin, I'd like to know why we have a terminated contractor sitting in on a board meeting. Because Mr. Bennett is the person who discovered the problem, Harwell said. And unlike our quality control department, he actually did something about it. He violated his employment agreement, recorded a private conversation, released confidential company information to federal investigators and the press. This from another board member, younger, wearing a suit that screamed investment banking. That's not whistleblowing. That's corporate sabotage. Is it sabotage to prevent defective medical equipment from reaching hospitals? Sarah's voice cut through the room. Because I'm fairly certain most judges would disagree. We don't know the equipment is defective, the banker shot back. We have one person's interpretation of testing data. One person with a documented history of, gentlemen, ladies. Harwell's voice didn't rise, but everyone went quiet. We can spend the morning arguing about Mr. Bennett's motives, or we can address the actual problem. I know which I'd prefer. He pulled up a projection screen. Testing data filled it. Numbers and graphs that Noah recognized instantly. This is batch TS447. 10,000 temperature sensors manufactured over 6 weeks, all tested, all approved, all scheduled to ship to hospitals across 11 states. Harwell clicked to the next slide. This is the raw testing data from those sensors. More numbers, more graphs. To most of the board, probably meaningless. And this, Harwell continued, is the summary report submitted to quality control. The differences were subtle, small shifts in averages, decimal points moved, outliers removed. Someone changed the numbers, Harwell said flatly. Not dramatically. Just enough to bring everything within acceptable tolerances. Just enough to ensure the shipment would be approved on schedule. Silence filled the room. The question, Harwell continued, is who, and why, and how this was allowed to happen under our watch. All eyes turned to Ariana. She sat perfectly still, her expression unreadable. Noah recognized that look, the same controlled mask she'd worn last night when dismissing his concerns. "Ms. Vale," Harwell said, "would you like to address the board?" Ariana stood slowly. She'd changed clothes since last night, Noah noticed. Different suit, hairstyled, makeup perfect. Every inch the competent CEO. "These allegations are serious," she began, her voice steady. "And I want to assure the board that I take patient safety as seriously as anyone in this room. When Mr. Bennett approached me last night with concerns about testing data, I did exactly what protocol requires. I directed him to submit his findings through proper channels so they could be reviewed by qualified personnel." "You fired him," Noah said. 12 heads turned toward him. Sarah's hand landed on his arm, a silent warning. But Noah was done being quiet. "You fired me," he repeated, meeting Ariana's eyes across the table. "For security violations and insubordination, because I interrupted your perfect night with evidence that people could die." "You ambushed me at midnight," Ariana said, her voice going colder, "with your child in tow, making accusations you couldn't substantiate, recording our conversation without permission. Washington is a one-party consent state. The recording is completely legal. Legal doesn't make it ethical. Neither does ignoring safety concerns because they're inconvenient." Harwell held up a hand. "Mr. Bennett, let Ms. Vale finish." Ariana took a breath, visibly composing herself. "I didn't ignore safety concerns. I followed established protocol. If that protocol failed, if warnings were suppressed or data was manipulated, that represents a systemic failure, not a personal one." "A systemic failure you created," Noah said. Sarah's grip on his arm tightened, but Noah shook her off. He was standing now, he realized. Didn't remember deciding to stand. "You created a culture where people were too afraid to report problems, where meeting quarterly targets mattered more than getting things right, where employees knew that bringing bad news meant getting blamed for it." "That's not true," Ariana said, but her voice wavered slightly. "Really?" Noah pulled out his phone. "Because I have emails from 3 separate quality control employees, all saying the same thing, that they raised concerns about this batch, that those concerns were dismissed, that they were pressured to sign off anyway." He looked at the board. "You want to know who changed the numbers? Nobody changed them. The system just made sure nobody looked too closely, made sure anyone who asked questions got stonewalled or sidelined, made sure the only thing that mattered was keeping production on schedule." One of the board members leaned forward. "You're saying multiple employees were complicit?" "I'm saying they were following incentives. Ariana structured this company to reward speed and punish caution. You don't need a conspiracy when you've built a system that naturally suppresses bad news." Ariana's composure cracked. "That's absurd. I built this company from nothing, saved it from bankruptcy, made it profitable again, created jobs, developed technology that saves lives. And now you're suggesting I deliberately compromise safety for profit?" "I'm suggesting you stopped listening," Noah said quietly. "That somewhere along the way you started believing your own PR. That Valion was perfect. That you were perfect. And anyone who said otherwise was either lying or incompetent." "This is rich," Ariana shot back, "coming from someone who brought his 6-year-old daughter to a corporate confrontation at midnight." The room went very quiet. "I brought Maya," Noah said, his voice dangerously soft, "because my babysitter had an emergency. Because I'm a single father who works overnight shifts so I can be home during the day. Because unlike you, I don't have assistants and drivers and people to handle the inconvenient parts of life." He stepped closer to the table. "And yeah, I carried her onto this floor while she slept, while I tried one last time to get someone to listen. And you know what happened? You shoved evidence back in my chest. You threatened to call security. You fired me in front of your assistant like I was trash you needed removed." Ariana's face had gone pale. "Because to you," Noah continued, "I was just a contractor, just some nobody who dared interrupt your important work. And my daughter? She was just a prop, a manipulation. Something I brought to make you feel guilty." "That's not..."
It never occurred to you that she was there because I had no other choice. That single parents don't get to leave their kids at home when emergencies happen. That some of us are doing this alone, without safety nets, without the luxury of pretending our personal lives don't exist. Noah's hands were shaking. He shoved them in his pockets. You asked if personal tragedy gives me the right to make accusations. Here's what I think. Personal tragedy gives me perspective. It shows me what matters, and it makes me really impatient with people who have all the power in the world and still choose profit over lives. The silence that followed was absolute. Harwell spoke first. Ms. Vale, is the recording of last night's conversation accurate? Ariana swallowed. The words are accurate. The context is that a qualified investigator brought you evidence of a safety issue and you dismissed him without review. Yes or no? It was midnight. I had a board meeting to prepare for. I made a judgment call. A judgment call that prioritized your career over patient safety. That's not fair, Ariana said, and for the first time she sounded desperate. You're reducing a complex situation to a soundbite. I had dozens of things to manage, hundreds of decisions to make. I can't personally investigate every concern that gets raised. No, Harwell agreed. But you can create a system that takes those concerns seriously, that encourages reporting rather than punishing it, that values accuracy over convenience. He looked at the rest of the board. The question before us isn't whether Ms. Vale personally altered data. It's whether her leadership created an environment where this kind of failure became inevitable. The banker board member spoke up. We're talking about replacing a CEO who's tripled our stock price over 5 years, based on one incident, one contractor with a grudge. I don't have a grudge, Noah said tiredly. I don't even know you people. I just wanted someone to look at the data before it killed someone. And instead of looking, Ms. Vale fired you. This from the woman in pearls. Then those sensors would have shipped, people would have died, and Valion would have faced lawsuits that make this emergency injunction look gentle. We don't know anyone would have died, Ariana protested. We don't know they wouldn't have, Harwell countered. And that uncertainty? That's on you. Ariana looked around the table, looking for allies, for support, for anyone willing to defend her. Noah watched her realize there was no one. I'd like to call a recess, she said, to consult with my legal team. Denied, Harwell said. We need a decision today. The injunction is temporary. The press is circling. Our stock is already down 18%. We can't afford delay. Another board member who hadn't spoken yet cleared his throat. I'd like to hear more about Mr. Bennett's background, his qualifications to make these assessments. Sarah opened her portfolio, sliding documents across the table. Noah Bennett, age 32, 10 years experience in corporate risk investigation and safety compliance, previously employed by Morrison Wells Consulting, Datatech Industries, and Helix Medical Group. Resigned from senior positions to focus on part-time contract work following his wife's death. No disciplinary history, multiple commendations for identifying safety issues before they became crises. The board member scanned the documents, eyebrows rising. You were a senior investigator at Morrison Wells? Noah nodded. Why didn't you mention that last night? Ariana asked, and she sounded genuinely confused. You didn't ask. You saw the cheap jacket and the sleeping kid and decided you already knew everything about me. Ariana opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I made a mistake, she said finally. Yes, Harwell agreed. You did. The question is whether it's a mistake we can afford to keep making. He looked at the board. We have a choice. We can circle the wagons, defend Ms. Vale, claim this is all overblown, fight the investigation and hope our lawyers are better than theirs. Harwell paused. Or we can acknowledge that something is fundamentally broken in how this company operates, and we can fix it. By firing our CEO, the banker said flatly. By admitting we need leadership that prioritizes safety over optics, that values transparency over control, that understands the difference between efficiency and recklessness. Ariana stood abruptly. I've given 5 years to this company. I've sacrificed relationships, health, any semblance of personal life. I've worked 100-hour weeks, made impossible decisions, taken risks nobody else was willing to take. And now you're going to throw me out because I didn't drop everything at midnight for a contractor's conspiracy theory? It wasn't a conspiracy theory, Noah said quietly. It was the truth. You just didn't want to hear it.
Ariana turned to him, and for the first time he saw past the CEO mask to something raw underneath. "You have no idea what it's like," she said. "Being 30 years old, running a billion-dollar company with everyone waiting for you to fail. Every decision scrutinized, every mistake magnified, every sign of weakness seized on as proof you don't belong." "You're right," Noah said. "I don't know what that's like. But I know what it's like to lose someone because a corporation decided profits mattered more than lives. And I know I'll do whatever it takes to stop that from happening again." They stared at each other across the boardroom. Two people from completely different worlds suddenly face to face over a mistake that couldn't be undone. Harwell's voice broke the silence. "I'm calling for a vote. All those in favor of removing Ariana Vale as CEO of Valion Medical Systems, effective immediately." Hands went up, slowly at first, then faster. Noah counted them, 7, then 8, then 9, more than enough. Ariana watched her empire crumble in real time. Her face went through a dozen expressions before settling on something blank. Empty. "The vote carries," Harwell said. "Ms. Vale, you're removed from your position as Chief Executive Officer. You'll have until end of business today to clear your office. Security will escort you from the premises." Ariana didn't move. "Ms. Vale?" Harwell's voice softened slightly. "Do you understand?" "I understand," she said quietly. Then louder, "I understand perfectly." She gathered her papers with mechanical precision, closed her laptop, stood. "For the record," she said, "I genuinely believed I was doing what was best for this company, best for our employees, best for our patients. If I was wrong about that, if I let ambition cloud my judgment, then I'm sorry." She looked at Noah. "And I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. You deserved better than that." Then she walked out. Head high, back straight, every inch the CEO she'd been an hour ago, even though the title was already gone. The door closed behind her. Harwell let out a long breath. Well, that was unpleasant. The room erupted in conversation. Board members arguing, questioning, already positioning themselves for whatever came next. Sarah was talking to someone on her phone. Security was appearing at the doors, and Noah just stood there, feeling like he'd been hit by a truck. "Mr. Bennett?" Harwell approached, hand extended. "On behalf of the board, thank you. What you did took courage." "It took desperation," Noah said. "Sometimes that's the same thing." Harwell studied him. "I meant what I said. We need leadership that values safety over politics, someone who understands what went wrong and how to fix it." "You'll find someone," Noah said. "We already did." It took Noah a moment to understand what Harwell was implying. "No," he said immediately. "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "Because I'm a contractor. Because I don't have an MBA. Because I just destroyed your CEO on national television. Pick one. You're also the only person in this building who had the integrity to speak up when it mattered. That counts for something." "It counts for me having a 6-year-old daughter and zero interest in running a corporation." Harwell smiled slightly. "Interim CEO. 6 months. Just long enough to stabilize things, implement new safety protocols, show the public we're serious about reform. Find someone else." There is no one else. Everyone else was either complicit in creating this mess or too afraid to fix it. Harwell's voice went harder. "You said you'd do whatever it takes to stop this from happening again. Well, this is what it takes. Not reporting problems and walking away, staying to fix them." Noah thought about Maya, about the promise he'd made to her mother, about every family that would never have to make the choice his family had made. "I want final authority on all safety decisions," he heard himself say. "No overrides. No board interference. If I say something's unsafe, it doesn't ship." "Agreed." "And I work from home 3 days a week. Non-negotiable." "Agreed." "And if I say this isn't working, I walk. No penalties, no lawsuits." Harwell extended his hand again. "Do we have a deal, Mr. Bennett?" Noah looked at that offered hand for a long moment, thinking about everything that could go wrong, everything he was risking. Then he thought about walking away, letting someone else fix the problem, going back to contract work and hoping the next company would be different. He shook Harwell's hand. 6 months, Noah said. "Not a day longer." 6 months, Harwell agreed. "Starting now." Noah walked out of that boardroom and immediately wanted to throw up. Sarah Chen was talking at him,
Something about paperwork and legal protections and media strategy, but the words weren't landing. Noah's brain had stopped processing somewhere around the moment he'd agreed to become interim CEO of a company that had fired him less than 12 hours ago. Mr. Bennett, are you listening? Noah focused on Sarah's face. She looked concerned. I need to call my daughter, he said. We should really discuss. I need to call my daughter, Noah repeated, harder this time. Right now. Sarah stepped back, recognition crossing her features. Of course, take your time. Noah found an empty office and shut the door. His hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to pull up Mrs. Patterson's number. She answered on the second ring. Noah? How'd it go? Is Maya okay? She's fine. We're making cookies. Well, she's making cookies. I'm trying to prevent a flour explosion. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Noah sat down hard in an expensive leather chair. I needed to hear her voice. There was a pause, then Maya's voice came through, bright and unconcerned. Daddy, we're making chocolate chip cookies, but Mrs. Patterson says we have to put walnuts in them. That's gross, right? Noah closed his eyes. The normalcy of it, the absolute mundane simplicity of a 6-year-old's cookie crisis, made something in his chest unclench. Walnuts are good for you, he managed, but they're crunchy and weird. So pick them out. Mrs. Patterson says that's rude. Mrs. Patterson is right, Maya huffed. When are you coming home? You said it would be boring and quick. It's taking longer than I thought, baby. I might be late. How late? Good question. How long did it take to become CEO of a company you barely understood? How long before the press found out? Before Valion's employees realized the contractor they'd ignored for 2 weeks was now technically their boss? I don't know yet, Noah said honestly, but I promise I'll be home for dinner, okay? Okay. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, sweetheart. The line went dead. Noah sat there holding his phone, staring at an office that probably belonged to someone important, someone with degrees and experience and a clue what they were doing, someone who wasn't him. The door opened without knocking. A woman in her 50s wearing a blazer that had seen better days and an expression that suggested she'd seen even worse. You're Bennett. Yeah. Patricia Monroe, head of HR. We need to talk. She sat down across from him without waiting for an invitation. First thing you need to understand, Patricia said, is that half this company is terrified right now. The other half is ready to mutiny. And the third half, that's 3 halves. Welcome to corporate math. The third half is placing bets on how long you last before you quit or get fired. She pulled out a tablet. So here's what's about to happen. In approximately 20 minutes, news of Ariana's removal will leak to the press. 10 minutes after that, every major outlet will be calling for statements. 30 minutes after that, employees will start panicking because nobody knows what's happening or if they still have jobs. Noah's head was starting to hurt. What do you need from me? I need you to not disappear. I need you to show your face. I need you to say something, anything, that convinces people this company isn't about to implode. I have no idea what I'm doing. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Join the club. But here's the thing, Mr. Bennett. You just did something nobody in this building has done in 5 years. You told the truth even when it cost you everything. That matters to people. I'm a contractor. I don't know the first thing about running a... You know what's broken. That's more than most CEOs can say. She stood. HR is setting up an all-hands meeting for this afternoon, 3 o'clock. Every department head, every team lead, everyone who matters. You're going to walk in there and tell them what happens next. I don't know what happens next. Then figure it out. You've got 4 hours. She left. Noah sat there feeling like he'd been conscripted into a war he didn't understand. His phone buzzed. Martinez. Please tell me the rumors aren't true. Which rumors? Noah asked. That they made you interim CEO. They made me interim CEO. Martinez made a sound like he'd been punched. Noah. Buddy, what the hell were you thinking? I was thinking someone needs to fix this mess. And you thought that someone should be you? A guy who got fired yesterday? Who has 0 executive experience? 6 months, Noah said. That's all I agreed to. Long enough to implement new safety protocols and stabilize things. You know what happens in 6 months?
Valion's lawyers finish building their case against you. Their PR team finishes destroying your reputation, and the board finds someone more controllable to replace you with. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. They're using you, Noah. You're the fall guy, the outsider they can blame when things go wrong and credit when things go right. And in 6 months, they'll kick you out and pretend this whole mess never happened. Noah looked out the window at Seattle spreading below him. Thousands of people down there, living their lives, completely unaware that medical equipment they trusted might have killed them. So what's the alternative? Noah asked. Walk away? Let someone else handle it? Yes. Let the investigators do their job. Let the board figure out their own mess. You already did your part. Did I? Because from where I'm sitting, reporting the problem isn't the same as fixing it. Martinez sighed. You're going to make yourself a target. Every mistake Valion has ever made is about to become your responsibility. Every decision that goes wrong, every quarterly loss, every negative story, it all lands on you. I know. And you're doing it anyway. Yeah. Another sigh, longer this time. You're either the bravest idiot I've ever met or the biggest fool, maybe both. Definitely both, Noah agreed. Fine, but I'm documenting everything, every conversation, every decision, every time the board tries to throw you under the bus. When this goes sideways, at least we'll have a record. Appreciate it? Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen your office. They hung up. Noah realized he had no idea where his office even was. The CEO's office, presumably, but that felt wrong, like wearing someone else's skin. There was a knock. A young woman, maybe 25, poked her head in. Mr. Bennett, I'm Amy Cho. I was Ms. Vale's executive assistant. Mr. Harwell asked me to help you get oriented. She looked like she'd been crying recently, eyes red, makeup slightly smudged. You worked for Ariana? Noah asked. Amy nodded. 3 years. She called me from the parking garage, said to cooperate fully with the transition, that you'd need help navigating the company. How'd she sound? Like someone trying really hard not to fall apart. Amy's voice wavered. She wasn't perfect, Mr. Bennett, but she wasn't a monster either. She got lost somewhere, started believing the wrong things mattered. Noah stood. Show me her office. I should probably see what I'm dealing with. They walked through hallways that felt different than they had last night, less intimidating, more like a maze someone had built without planning for emergency exits. Employees stared as Noah passed, some curious, some hostile, most just confused. Amy stopped at a door Noah recognized, the same office Ariana had emerged from when she'd found him arguing with her assistant. This is it, Amy said. The office was bigger than Noah's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Modern furniture that probably cost more than he made in a year. A desk so large it could double as a landing strip. And on that desk, arranged with obvious care, were pictures. Not of Ariana. Of other people. An older couple, probably her parents. A golden retriever. A younger woman making a silly face at the camera. She has a sister? Noah asked. Amy nodded. Lauren. They were close once, before Valion consumed everything. Noah picked up the photo. The resemblance was clear, same dark hair, same sharp features, but where Ariana always looked controlled, calculated, her sister looked wild, free. When's the last time they spoke? I don't know. Ms. Vale never talked about personal stuff. Amy hesitated. But I heard her on the phone once, maybe 6 months ago, crying, apologizing for missing something important. A wedding, I think. Noah set down the photo. Suddenly, Ariana's desperate need to prove herself made more sense. When you sacrifice everything for success, admitting failure means admitting you gave up the wrong things. I can't work in here, Noah said. Amy blinked. I'm sorry? This office, it's too much, He gestured vaguely. Just too much. Is there somewhere smaller, less intimidating? Amy looked confused but nodded. There's a conference room on 68 that's usually empty. Big windows, decent space. We could set up a temporary office there? Perfect. They took the elevator down. The conference room was better, still corporate, still expensive, but it felt less like a throne room, more like a place where actual work could happen. I'll have it set up your computer, Amy said, and I'll need to brief you on today's schedule. You have the all hands at 3. Before that, meetings with department heads. Legal wants 20 minutes. PR wants 30. Finance wants... Amy. Noah held up a hand. Slow down. I need you to understand something. I have no idea what I'm doing. 0. None. So if you're expecting me to act like a normal CEO, you're going to be disappointed. Amy stared at him. Then what should I expect? Honesty, I guess. I'm going to ask a lot of stupid questions. I'm going to need things explained like I'm 5. And I'm probably going to make mistakes. Noah met her eyes. But I'm also going to actually listen when people tell me things are broken. Think you can work with that? Amy's expression shifted, something uncertain becoming something like hope. Yeah, she said quietly. I can work with that. The meetings were brutal. Legal spent 45 minutes explaining why everything Noah wanted to do was impossible, illegal, or both. PR had a crisis management plan that basically amounted to say nothing, admit nothing, wait for the news cycle to move on. Finance presented quarterly projections showing how the injunction had already cost them $50 million in market value. Noah listened to all of it with growing frustration. Here's what I don't understand, he said during the finance meeting. Why is everyone acting like the injunction is the problem? The problem is we almost shipped defective equipment to hospitals. The CFO, a thin man named Warren, who looked like he survived on coffee and stress, blinked at Noah. The injunction is costing us millions per day in delayed shipments. And the lawsuits from dead patients would have cost us what? Billions? The company's reputation? We don't know the equipment would have failed, Warren said carefully. We don't know it wouldn't have. That's the point. We were guessing, hoping, crossing our fingers that small deviations wouldn't matter. Noah leaned forward. How much would it cost to retest the entire batch? Properly this time. Warren pulled up a spreadsheet. Full independent testing? Maybe $2 million, plus another month of delays. Do it. Mr. Bennett, with respect, that's not a decision you can make unilaterally. The board needs to approve expenditures over. The board put me in charge of safety decisions. This is a safety decision. Retest everything. If it passes, we ship. If it doesn't, we scrap it and start over. Warren looked like Noah had suggested burning money for fun. That could set us back an entire quarter. Good. Better late than lethal. After Warren left, muttering about fiscal irresponsibility, Amy appeared with coffee and what looked like genuine respect. That was either really brave or really stupid, she said. Why not both? Noah took the coffee gratefully. What's next? Department head briefing. You're meeting with quality control, manufacturing, R&D, and sales. They want to understand the new direction. The new direction is we stop shipping things that might kill people. Is that complicated? Amy almost smiled. You'd be surprised. The department heads filed in looking various degrees of defensive, curious, and terrified. Noah recognized a few faces from the investigation. Jessica Chen from manufacturing, who'd confirmed the data manipulation. David Park from quality control, who'd been pressured to sign off on reports he knew were wrong. Let me guess, Noah said. You're all wondering if you're about to get fired. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. I'm not firing anyone, Noah continued, unless you're actively hiding safety issues. Then, yeah, you're gone. But if you were just following orders, trying to keep your job, doing what you thought the company wanted, that's not on you. That's on leadership. That's on me now. You're going to change the whole company culture in 6 months? This from sales, a woman named Keisha, who looked skeptical. No, but I can start. Noah looked around the table. Here's what I know. This company has talented people, smart people, people who care about doing good work. But somewhere along the way, you all got the message that caring about quality was less important than moving fast, that asking questions was dangerous, that the only thing that mattered was hitting targets. Heads nodded around the table. So here's the new message, Noah said. If you see something wrong, report it. If you're not sure something's safe, say so. If you need more time to test properly, take it. And if anyone pressures you to compromise safety for speed, you come directly to me. Even if it costs us money? Jessica Chen asked. Especially if it costs us money. Money comes back, lives don't. David Park spoke up, his voice quiet. Ms. Vale said similar things in the beginning, before the board started pushing for growth, before investors wanted better returns. It's easy to prioritize safety when business is good. What happens when we're fighting for survival again? It was a fair question, the kind of question someone who'd seen promises broken before would ask. Honestly, I don't know, Noah admitted, but I'd rather go bankrupt doing the right thing than get rich cutting corners. And if the board disagrees, they can find another interim CEO. You'd really walk away? Keisha asked. In a heartbeat. I'm here for 6 months. That's it. I'm not building a career. I'm not angling for a permanent position. I'm just trying to fix what's broken and leave this place better than I found it. The room went quiet. Noah couldn't tell if they believed him or thought he was naive. Patricia Monroe, who'd been sitting silently in the corner, spoke up. Mr. Bennett is scheduled for the all-hands meeting in 90 minutes. I suggest we use that time to prepare talking points. No talking points, Noah said. Patricia's eyebrows rose. Excuse me? I'm not reading from a script. I'm just going to talk to people. Answer questions honestly. That's a terrible idea, Patricia said flatly. You have 300 employees who are scared, angry, and looking for someone to blame. You go in there unprepared, they'll eat you alive. Maybe, but at least they'll know I'm not feeding them corporate bullshit. Patricia looked at Amy. Is he always like this? I've known him for 3 hours, Amy said. But yeah, probably. The all-hands meeting was held in Valian's largest conference space, a room designed to hold 400 people that currently held maybe 300, all of them looking at Noah like he was a bomb that might explode. Patricia had offered him note cards, talking points, a teleprompter. Noah had declined all of it. Now, standing at the front of the room with every eye on him, he was reconsidering that decision. Hi, he started, and his voice echoed weirdly through the speakers. I'm Noah Bennett. Most of you probably know me as the guy who got fired last night. Now I'm the guy who's supposed to run this company for the next 6 months. Life's weird like that. A few uncertain laughs. I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm doing. I don't have an MBA. I've never run a company. Until yesterday, I was a contractor most of you never met. So if you're expecting some polished CEO speech about vision and strategy and synergy, you're going to be disappointed. Noah took a breath. Here's what I know. This company almost shipped defective equipment to hospitals. Not because people didn't care, not because anyone wanted to hurt patients, but because somewhere along the way, we built a system that made it easier to ignore problems than fix them. A system that punished honesty and rewarded silence. He could see people shifting uncomfortably. And that's on leadership. That's on the pressure to grow fast, hit targets, impress investors. That's on creating an environment where speaking up felt dangerous, where doing the right thing could cost you your job. More shifting. Some nods. So here's what's going to change. Starting now, if you see a problem, you report it. No retaliation, no punishment, no career damage. If you're not sure something's safe, you say so. If you need more time to test properly, you take it. And if anyone tells you to compromise safety for any reason, you tell me immediately. A hand went up in the back. A young man, maybe late 20s. What if reporting problems cost us business? What if we lose contracts because we're too slow? Then we lose contracts, Noah said simply. I'd rather lose money than lives. Easy to say when it's not your company on the line, someone else called out. You're right. It's not my company. I'm here for 6 months, then I'm gone. I don't have stock options or long-term incentives or any reason to care about quarterly earnings. Noah paused. Which means I can afford to tell you the truth. This company got lucky. We caught the problem before anyone died. Not everyone gets that chance. The room went very quiet. 3 years ago, my wife died because of faulty medical equipment. Equipment that had known issues the manufacturer buried because recalls are expensive. Because admitting mistakes hurt stock prices. Because protecting the company mattered more than protecting patients. Noah's voice stayed steady, but his hands gripped the podium. I'm here because I don't want any of you to live with that. I don't want you wondering if the device you approved, the test you signed off on, the corner you cut to meet a deadline, ended up killing someone. That weight doesn't leave. It doesn't get easier. It just sits there, reminding you that you had a choice and you made the wrong one. Someone in the third row was crying quietly. So yeah, we might lose contracts, we might miss targets. Wall Street might hate us. But you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror. You'll be able to tell your kids what you do for work without having to lie about it. And patients will trust that when they use Valion equipment, someone actually gave a damn about whether it worked. Noah stepped back from the podium. That's all I've got. Questions? Every hand in the room went up.
The next hour was chaos. Questions about job security, about the investigation, about what happened to Ariana, about whether Noah was qualified, about new safety protocols, about everything and nothing. Noah answered as honestly as he could. When he didn't know something, he said so. When questions were stupid, he said that too. When people challenged him, he listened instead of getting defensive. Slowly, gradually, the hostility in the room shifted. Not to trust, exactly. More like cautious curiosity, like people deciding to wait and see before forming judgments. After the meeting, Patricia found Noah in the hallway looking exhausted. That went better than expected, she admitted. What were you expecting? Riots. Maybe someone throwing a chair. You told a room full of employees that profits don't matter and we might lose business. That's not standard CEO messaging. Good. Standard CEO messaging is what got us here. Patricia studied him. You meant it, the thing about walking away. Yeah. Most people in your position would be thinking about leveraging this into something permanent, using it to build a reputation. You're already planning your exit. I've got a 6-year-old daughter who needs me home for dinner. I'm not interested in building empires. Then why take the job at all? Noah thought about that, about Maya asking if he was still fired, about Ariana's voice saying personal tragedy didn't give him the right to make accusations, about every family that would never know how close they came to disaster. Because someone needed to, he said finally, and I was the only one stupid enough to try. Patricia almost smiled. You're going to drive the board crazy. Good. They could use some crazy. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Patterson with a photo attached. Maya covered in flour, grinning at the camera, holding up a cookie that looked more like a disaster than dessert. Noah smiled for the first time all day. I need to go home, he said. You have meetings until 7. Interviews with... I need to go home, Noah repeated. I promised my daughter I'd be there for dinner. Everything else can wait. Patricia looked like she wanted to argue. Then she saw the photo on Noah's phone and her expression softened. Go. I'll reschedule. Noah made it to Mrs. Patterson's apartment by 6:30. Maya launched herself at him before he was fully through the door. Daddy, we made 17 cookies. Well, 16. I ate one. It was okay. The walnuts were still gross. Noah scooped her up, breathing in the smell of flour and chocolate and pure 6-year-old chaos. Sounds perfect, he said. Mrs. Patterson appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. Saw you on the news, she said. Noah's stomach dropped. Already? Channel 7, you look terrified. I was terrified. Good. Means you understand what you're dealing with. She handed him a container of cookies. Take these. You both look like you could use some sugar. Back in their apartment, Maya chattered about her day while Noah heated up leftover pizza. Something about a game at school, a friend who said mean things, a butterfly she saw on the playground. Normal kid stuff. Beautifully, perfectly normal. Daddy, are you listening? Noah realized he'd been staring into space, pizza forgotten. Sorry, baby. What'd you say? I asked if you're still fired. Right. That. Not exactly, Noah said carefully. It's complicated. Is complicated good or bad? Both, maybe. I have a different job now, for a little while. A better job? Noah thought about the boardroom, about Ariana walking out with her career in ruins, about 300 employees looking at him like he might either save them or destroy them. A harder job, he said. Maya considered this while eating her pizza upside down because 6-year-olds are weird. Is it the job where the mean lady yelled at you? Same company, different job. So the mean lady is your boss now? Actually, I'm kind of her boss, was her boss. It's really complicated. Maya's eyes went wide. You're the boss of the mean lady. I'm the boss of everybody for 6 months. Can you fire people who are mean? If they're mean to patients, yeah. What about mean to daddies? Noah pulled Maya onto his lap. That lady wasn't trying to be mean. She forgot that people are more important than work. Sometimes grown-ups do that. That's dumb. Yeah, baby, it really is. After Maya went to bed, Noah sat in his living room with a beer he wasn't drinking and a laptop showing news coverage he couldn't stop watching. The story was everywhere.
Billionaire CEO removed in emergency board meeting. Whistleblower contractor becomes interim CEO. Valion stock down 23%. Federal investigation ongoing. Potential criminal charges. And there, in every article, was Ariana's picture. Professional headshots from better days, contrasted with grainy parking garage footage of her leaving the building that morning. She looked smaller in those photos, more human. Noah's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Mr. Bennett? This is Ariana Vale. Noah sat up straight, beer forgotten.
I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, Ariana continued, her voice tight.
But I wanted to call before my lawyers tell me it's a terrible idea. It probably is a terrible idea, Noah said. Most of my ideas lately have been terrible. Why stop now? A pause. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Actually sorry, not corporate sorry. You tried to help and I treated you like garbage. You deserved better. Noah didn't know what to say to that.
I also wanted to warn you, Ariana continued.
The board seems cooperative now. But they're not your friends. They're covering their own asses. The moment you stop being useful, they'll throw you out like they did me. I know. Do you? Because 6 hours ago you were a contractor. Now you're running $1 billion company. That's a hell of a learning curve. I'm only here for 6 months.
Ariana laughed, but it sounded wrong. Broken. That's what I thought too. Just long enough to prove myself. Just until things stabilized. 5 years later, I'd given up everything that mattered. I won't let that happen.
Everyone says that, but the job has gravity. It pulls you in, makes you believe you're indispensable, that the company will fall apart without you, that sacrificing your personal life is noble instead of stupid. Her voice wavered. I missed my sister's wedding for a quarterly earnings call. Haven't spoken to my parents in 8 months. Can't remember the last time I had a friend who wasn't on the payroll.
Noah thought about Maya sleeping in the next room, about the promise he'd made to her mother. I'm sorry that happened to you, he said quietly. Don't be sorry. Just don't let it happen to you. Ariana took a shaky breath. Your daughter, the one you brought that night. What's her name? Maya. Don't lose her chasing something that doesn't love you back. The company doesn't care. It'll consume everything you give it and ask for more. Your daughter won't. I know.
Good. Then you're already smarter than I was. Another pause. For what it's worth, I think you'll do better than I did. You actually give a damn about people. That's rare.
Ariana.
Don't. Don't try to make me feel better. I made my choices. Now I get to live with them. Her voice went harder. Just fix it, okay? Fix what I broke. Make sure those sensors get tested properly. Make sure employees feel safe speaking up. Make sure nobody else has to lose someone because we couldn't be bothered to check our work. I will. Okay, good. The line went quiet for a moment. Goodbye, Noah. Goodbye, Ariana. The call ended. Noah sat there holding his phone, thinking about the woman who dismissed him last night and the woman who just called to warn him. Two versions of the same person, separated by one catastrophic mistake. He finished his beer and checked on Maya one more time. She was sprawled across her bed, purple rabbit discarded on the floor, completely at peace. Noah picked up the rabbit and tucked it next to her. 6 months, he whispered. Then we go back to normal. I promise. Maya stirred slightly, murmuring something about cookies. Noah's laptop was still open, news coverage still rolling. More interviews, more analysis, more speculation about whether a contractor turned CEO could actually fix Valion's broken culture. Noah closed the laptop. Tomorrow he'd figure out how to be a CEO. Tonight, he was just a dad making sure his daughter was safe. And for now, that was enough. The first real crisis hit on day 3. Noah was in his temporary office, trying to understand a budget report that might as well have been written in ancient Greek, when Amy burst through the door without knocking. We have a problem. Noah looked up. Amy's face was pale, and she was holding her tablet like it might explode. What kind of problem? 3 quality control inspectors just walked out, said they're not working under someone who doesn't understand basic manufacturing protocols. 2 more are threatening to follow. Noah set down the budget report, which honestly was a relief. Who's leading this? Marcus Webb.
He's been with Valion for 12 years, senior QC inspector. Very respected. Very, Amy hesitated. Very loyal to Ariana. Of course he was. Where is he now? Break room on 65. Word is spreading fast. If we don't handle this quickly, it could turn into a full walkout. Noah stood, ignoring the voice in his head screaming that he had no idea how to handle a workplace rebellion. Let's go talk to him. You're just going to walk down there? You have a better idea? Amy looked like she wanted to argue, but didn't. They took the elevator down in silence. Noah could feel his heart hammering. 3 days into this job and people were already walking out. Martinez had been right. The board had been right. He was in over his head. The break room on 65 was full when they arrived. Maybe 20 people, all clustered around a man in his 50s with graying hair and the kind of posture that came from years of being right about things. Marcus Webb. The room went silent when Noah entered. All eyes turned toward him, and none of them looked friendly. Mr. Webb, Noah said, I hear you have some concerns. Marcus crossed his arms. Concerns? That's corporate speak for, we're about to ignore everything you say. I don't speak corporate, try me. Fine. You want the truth? You have no business running this company. You're a contractor who got lucky finding a problem. That doesn't qualify you to make decisions about manufacturing, quality control, or anything else. A few people nodded agreement. You're right, Noah said. Marcus blinked. What? You're right. I don't know manufacturing. I don't know half the technical stuff you do. I'm learning as I go, and I'm probably going to make mistakes. The room stayed silent, but now people looked confused rather than hostile. So here's my question, Noah continued. If I'm so unqualified, why are you walking out instead of helping me not screw this up? Marcus's expression hardened. Because you're a political appointment. The board's puppet. You'll be here 6 months, implement whatever changes, make good headlines, then disappear. Meanwhile, those of us who actually work here will be left dealing with the mess. Maybe I'm actually trying to fix what's broken. By ordering expensive retests we don't need, by implementing protocols that'll slow everything down, by treating every employee complaint like a federal emergency? Marcus shook his head. You're overcorrecting. Making changes for the sake of change. That's not leadership. That's panic. Noah felt the accusation land. Because Marcus wasn't entirely wrong. Noah had been moving fast, implementing new rules, demanding immediate changes. Partly because things needed to change, but partly because he was terrified of being the CEO who did nothing while problems festered. What would you do differently? Noah asked. Marcus looked surprised by the question. What? You think I'm overcorrecting? Fine. What would you do instead, specifically? Marcus glanced at his colleagues, then back at Noah. I'd trust the people who've been doing this for years. I'd listen to experienced staff instead of assuming everyone's corrupt or incompetent. I'd recognize that most of the quality issues came from executive pressure, not from people like us who actually give a damn about our work. Okay? Okay what? Okay, you're right. I've been treating this like everyone was part of the problem. That's not fair. Noah looked around the room. Most of you are trying to do good work in a bad system. I should have recognized that sooner. The hostility in the room softened slightly. So here's what I'm proposing, Noah continued. Help me understand what actually needs to change versus what I'm breaking unnecessarily. Tell me when I'm being an idiot. And in exchange, I promise to actually listen instead of assuming I know better. Why should we trust you? Someone called from the back. Because I don't want to be here any more than you want me here, Noah said bluntly. I'm not building a career. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I just want to make sure this company stops almost killing people. And I can't do that without you. Marcus studied Noah for a long moment. You really mean that? Yeah, I do. Most executives would have had security escort us out by now, threatened our jobs, made an example of us. I'm not most executives. Marcus exchanged looks with the others in the room, some silent conversation happening. Finally, he uncrossed his arms. Fine. I'll stay. But I want weekly meetings, real meetings, where we discuss what's working and what's not. No PR bullshit, no corporate spin, actual conversations. Done. And I want final say on quality protocols. You can set the standards, but implementation stays with people who understand the technical details. Makes sense?
And you need to stop treating every safety concern like the building's on fire. Some things are urgent. Some things can wait. Learn the difference. Noah almost smiled. Deal. Anything else? Yeah, stop wearing suits. You look uncomfortable and it's distracting. That got a few laughs from around the room. Noah looked down at the suit Amy had insisted he wear, which was currently making him sweat despite the air conditioning. Gladly. The tension broke. People started filtering back to work, still wary but no longer openly hostile. Marcus lingered. For what it's worth, he said quietly, what happened with that temperature sensor batch? You were right to flag it. I signed off on those reports because my manager told me to. Told me the deviations were within acceptable margins. I should have pushed back harder. You were following orders. So were the people at Nuremberg. Marcus's face was grim. I've been in QC for 20 years. I know when something's not right. I ignored my gut because it was easier. Because questioning things made me look difficult. That's on me. It's on the system that made questioning things dangerous, Noah said. That's what we're trying to fix. Marcus nodded slowly. Just don't forget, systems are made of people. You can change protocols all you want, but if people don't feel safe speaking up, nothing changes. He walked out, leaving Noah standing in an empty break room feeling like he'd just survived round one of something much longer. Amy appeared at his elbow. That went better than expected. Did it? Because I just promised weekly meetings with people who think I'm incompetent. You promised weekly meetings with people who actually know how this company works. That's smart. Noah's phone buzzed. A text from Harwell. Board meeting Friday. Need to discuss progress, or lack thereof. Noah showed Amy the message. She winced. That's not good. What's Friday? Day 5? Day 6. And the board's already getting nervous. Stock's still down. Press is still circling. Investors want reassurance that you're not going to tank the company. I've been here less than a week. Wall Street doesn't care. They want results. Noah thought about the budget report waiting on his desk. The manufacturing delays, the expensive retests, every decision that was necessary but made the numbers look worse. Set up the meeting, he said. Let's get this over with. Friday came too fast. Noah spent the intervening days drowning in meetings, reports, and decisions he barely understood. Maya asked every night when things would go back to normal. Noah kept promising soon, knowing it was a lie. Mrs. Patterson was a saint. She'd taken over most of the child care, insisting it was no trouble, that Maya was a delight. But Noah saw the worry in her eyes, saw how Maya clung a little tighter when he dropped her off each morning. Daddy, you're tired all the time now, Maya said Thursday night. I know, baby, I'm sorry. Is it because of the mean lady's job? It's because grown-up jobs are complicated. Maya considered this while arranging her stuffed animals in some elaborate hierarchy, only she understood. When I grow up, I'm going to have an easy job, like being a princess or astronaut. Astronaut is actually really hard, sweetheart, than just princess. Noah pulled her close, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. You can be whatever you want, as long as you're happy. Are you happy, Daddy? The question hit harder than it should have. Was he happy? Stressed, terrified, overwhelmed, sure. But happy? I'm happy when I'm with you, Noah said, which was true enough. Friday's board meeting was smaller than the last one. Just Harwell and 4 other board members, plus Warren from finance and Patricia from HR. No lawyers this time, no investigators. Just the people who controlled Noah's immediate future. Let's talk numbers, Harwell said without preamble. Stock is down 28% since the announcement. Investors are spooked. 2 major hospital contracts are on hold pending investigation outcomes. And we've spent $4 million on retests and audits in less than a week. He looked at Noah. Convince me this isn't a disaster. Noah had prepared for this. Sort of. Amy had helped him put together a presentation with charts and projections and all the things boards supposedly cared about. But standing there now looking at 5 people who could fire him with a single vote, the presentation felt wrong. It is a disaster, Noah said, but not the disaster you're worried about. Harwell's eyebrows rose. Explain. You're worried about stock prices and contracts and quarterly losses. Those are real problems. But the actual disaster is that this company was days away from killing people. That's the story. That's what matters. The market doesn't care about what almost happened, one of the other board members said. They care about actual results.
Then let's give them results, Noah said. The retest found 87 sensors with deviations outside acceptable margins. 87 devices that would have failed in the field, some by a little, some by a lot, but all of them wrong. He pulled up a slide showing the test results.
If we'd shipped those sensors and even one of them failed in a critical application, we'd be facing wrongful death lawsuits, criminal negligence charges, a recall that would cost hundreds of millions, complete destruction of our reputation. Noah looked around the table. Instead, we caught it. We fixed it. And now we get to tell that story. Warren spoke up. We also get to tell the story about how it happened in the first place. That's not great PR.
No, it's not, but it's honest. And right now, honesty is our only asset.
Noah leaned forward. Every medical device company has quality issues. It's the nature of manufacturing. The difference is whether you catch them or hide them. We're catching them. That makes us different. It makes us look incompetent, another board member said. It makes us look responsible, Noah countered. There's a difference. Harwell was watching Noah with an unreadable expression. What's your plan for the next 6 months? Keep testing, keep auditing, keep making it safe for employees to report problems. Rebuild trust internally and externally, and stop chasing growth at the expense of quality. That's going to hurt profits. Short term, yeah, long term, it saves the company. You sound very certain for someone with 6 days of executive experience. Noah met Harwell's eyes.
I'm certain that doing the right thing eventually pays off. I'm less certain about everything else. Silence filled the room. Noah couldn't tell if he'd convinced them or confirmed every doubt they had. Finally, Harwell spoke. The board appreciates your candor, Mr. Bennett, but candor doesn't pay dividends. We need concrete improvements, measurable results, something to show investors that this situation is under control.
Give me 30 days, Noah said. 1 month. I'll have preliminary audit results, new quality protocols implemented, and employee satisfaction data showing people feel safer reporting concerns. If I can't deliver that, I'll resign, and you can find someone else. It was a gamble, a stupid one, but Noah was tired of defending himself to people who measured success in stock ticks. Harwell exchanged glances with the other board members, some silent conversation Noah wasn't part of. 30 days, Harwell agreed. But understand, Mr. Bennett, this company's reputation is on the line. Our investors' money is on the line. If you can't show progress, we'll have no choice but to make a change. Understood. The meeting ended. Noah walked out feeling like he'd just agreed to run a marathon without training. 30 days to prove he wasn't destroying the company. 30 days before the board lost patience. He made it to the elevator before his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Bennett, this is Lauren Vale, Ariana's sister. Noah stopped walking. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Listen, I know this is weird, but I need to talk to you about Ariana. Can we meet somewhere? Not at Valian, somewhere neutral. Why? Because my sister is falling apart and she won't talk to anyone, and you're the only person who might understand what she's going through. Noah thought about hanging up. He had enough problems without adding Ariana's family drama. But he remembered the photo on her desk. The 2 sisters, close once, before Valion consumed everything. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from Valion, Noah said, Rosie's. I can be there in 20 minutes. Thank you. Lauren Vale looked nothing like her sister. Where Ariana was controlled and polished, Lauren was messy and vibrant. Ripped jeans, flannel shirt, hair in a casual braid. She looked like someone who'd never owned a suit and was proud of it. Thanks for meeting me, she said as Noah sat down. I know you probably want nothing to do with my family right now. Your sister called me earlier this week to apologize. That sounds like her, apologizing while simultaneously self-destructing. Lauren's smile was sad. Has she contacted you since? No. She won't. Ariana doesn't do vulnerability well. One moment of honesty is about her limit before the walls go back up. A waitress appeared. Noah ordered coffee. Lauren already had something complicated and foamy. So why am I here? Noah asked. Because Ariana is holed up in her apartment refusing to see anyone. Won't answer calls, won't respond to messages. Her lawyer says she's not cooperating with legal strategy. Her therapist says she canceled her appointment. And I'm worried she's going to do something stupid. Noah's stomach tightened. Stupid how?
I don't know. That's what scares me. Ariana's whole identity was wrapped up in being CEO, in being successful, in proving she could build something from nothing, and now that's gone. I don't know who she is without it. She's still herself. Is she? Because the sister I knew before Valion was different, softer, more human. The company changed her, made her harder, made her believe success was the only thing that mattered. Lauren looked at Noah. And now she's lost that, and I think she's realizing how much she gave up to get it. Noah thought about Ariana's voice on the phone, the warning about not losing Maya, the raw honesty that had felt like watching someone bleed. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Talk to her. Not as the new CEO, as someone who understands what it's like to lose everything and have to figure out who you are after." "I didn't lose everything. Your wife died. You gave up your career to raise your daughter alone. You rebuilt your entire life around what mattered." Lauren's eyes were fierce. "That's losing everything and choosing what to keep. Ariana needs to learn how to do that." "She won't listen to me. I'm the guy who destroyed her career." "No, you're the guy who told the truth when she wouldn't. That's different." Noah's coffee arrived. He wrapped his hands around the mug, feeling the warmth, buying time to think. "Even if I wanted to help, I don't know what I'd say. I'm barely holding my own life together." "Just be honest with her, that's all. No judgment, no corporate platitudes, just one person who's been broken talking to another person who's breaking." Noah thought about Maya, about the promise to be home for dinner, about all the reasons this was a terrible idea. "Give me her address," he said. Ariana's apartment was in a building that screamed expensive. Doorman, marble lobby, the kind of place where monthly rent cost more than Noah's annual salary used to. The doorman looked at Noah suspiciously. "I'm here to see Ariana Vale. Ms. Vale isn't accepting visitors. Tell her Noah Bennett is here. She'll see me." The doorman made a call, his expression growing more surprised. "You can go up, 15th floor, apartment 1504. The elevator was nicer than Noah's entire apartment. When the doors opened, Ariana was standing in her doorway. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair uncombed, wearing sweatpants and an old college t-shirt. Nothing like the polished CEO from a week ago. "Lauren called you," she said. "Yeah. I told her not to. She's worried about you." Ariana stepped back, letting Noah enter. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern furniture, art that probably cost more than a car, and absolutely sterile. Like a hotel room. Nothing personal except those same photos from her office, now arranged on a shelf. "You want something to drink?" Ariana asked. "I'm good." They stood there awkwardly. Noah in his jeans and jacket, Ariana in her sweatpants, both of them unsure how to navigate this. "You didn't have to come," Ariana said finally. "Your sister seemed to think you needed someone to talk to." "And you're that someone? The guy whose life I tried to ruin?" "You didn't try to ruin my life. You just dismissed me. There's a difference." Ariana laughed, but it came out bitter. "Ever the generous one. No wonder the board loves you." "The board tolerates me. Barely. I've got 30 days to prove I'm not destroying the company." That got Ariana's attention. "They're already threatening to remove you?" "Not threatening, just making expectations clear." Ariana shook her head. "That's how it starts. 30 days becomes 60, becomes 6 months. Always one more deadline, one more milestone, until you wake up 5 years later and realize you have no life outside the job." She moved to the window, looking out at Seattle. "I had coffee with my sister this morning. First time in 8 months. You know what she said? She barely recognized me. Said I looked like someone wearing Ariana's face. Maybe she's right. Maybe she is. I don't even know anymore." Ariana's voice cracked slightly. "I spent 5 years becoming someone I thought I needed to be. Strong, decisive, unwavering. And it worked. I built Valion into something successful, something that mattered, but I lost myself in the process." Noah joined her at the window. "So find yourself again." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because I don't know who that person is anymore. Before Valion, I don't know. Someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone trying to figure out life. Now I'm just the CEO who got fired for ignoring safety concerns. That's my whole identity. That's one part of your story. It doesn't have to be the whole thing." Ariana looked at him.
How did you do it? After your wife died, how did you rebuild? Noah thought about those first terrible months, the grief, the fear, the absolute certainty that he'd never feel whole again. I didn't rebuild, he said honestly. I just kept going. For Maya. Because she needed me. And somewhere along the way I realized that being her dad was enough, that I didn't need to be anything else. That sounds peaceful. It's not. Most days I feel like I'm failing at everything. But at least I know what matters. Ariana was quiet for a long moment. I missed my sister's wedding for a board meeting. Did she tell you that? She mentioned it. It was a Zoom meeting, could have rescheduled, could have dialed in from the reception, but I told myself the company needed me there in person, that family would understand. Her voice went rough. Lauren got married and I wasn't there. That's the kind of person I became. So be a different person now. Just like that? Not just like that, but starting today. Call your sister back. Go to dinner with your parents. Do something that has nothing to do with work or success or proving anything to anyone. And then what? I don't know. Figure out what makes you happy beyond a title. Ariana turned away from the window. You know what's funny? I spent 5 years building Valion, sacrificed everything for it, and it took less than 12 hours for the board to erase me like I never existed. New CEO, new direction. Ariana who? That's how corporations work. They're not people. They don't love you back. Apparently I needed to learn that the hard way. Noah's phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Patterson. Maya's asking when you'll be home. Told her soon, but she's getting worried. He showed Ariana the message. She almost smiled. You should go. Your daughter needs you. Will you be okay? Honestly, I don't know, but I'll be something. That's better than nothing. Noah headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, you weren't all wrong. Valion needed someone strong, someone willing to make hard decisions. You built something real. I built something broken. You built something fixable. That's not nothing. Ariana walked him to the door. She looked smaller somehow, less like the CEO who'd dismissed him and more like someone still figuring out who she was. Noah, she said as he stepped into the hallway. Thank you for not hating me. I never hated you. I just disagreed with your priorities. Same thing, in my experience. Then your experience was limited. Noah took the elevator down, feeling like he'd just had a conversation that mattered more than any board meeting. His phone rang before he hit the lobby. Harwell. We need to talk, Harwell said. There's been a development. Noah's stomach dropped. What kind of development? The kind that happens at 9 p.m. on a Friday. Get back to the office. Now. The executive floor was chaos when Noah arrived. People everywhere, all looking stressed and urgent. Amy met him at the elevator. What's happening? Noah asked. Anonymous tip came in through our ethics hotline. Someone claiming there's more data manipulation. Not just the temperature sensors. Multiple product lines over the last 3 years. Noah felt the floor tilt slightly. How credible? Credible enough that legal wants an immediate internal investigation. Credible enough that if it leaks to the press, we're looking at a complete meltdown. They reached the conference room. Harwell was there, along with Warren, Patricia, and 3 people Noah didn't recognize. Lawyers, probably. Mr. Bennett, Harwell said grimly, we have a problem. So I hear. One of the lawyers, a woman in her 40s with severe glasses, spoke up. The tip alleges systematic manipulation of testing data across multiple departments, pressure from executives to approve products that hadn't passed protocols, deliberate suppression of quality concerns. Sounds familiar, Noah said. The difference is scale. If this is accurate, we're not talking about one batch of sensors. We're talking about dozens of products over multiple years, potentially hundreds of devices in the field right now. The room went silent. How long to verify? Noah asked. Weeks, maybe months. We're talking about reviewing years of records. We don't have months, Harwell said. If this gets out before we can get ahead of it, the company's finished. Stock will crater, contracts will evaporate. We'll be sued into oblivion. Then we get ahead of it, Noah said. Everyone turned to look at him. We go public, Noah continued. Tomorrow. Announce we've received allegations of broader quality issues, that we're launching a full investigation, that we're cooperating completely with federal regulators, that patient safety is our absolute priority. That's suicide, Warren said flatly. You're talking about admitting to problems we haven't even verified yet. I'm talking about being honest before we're forced to be. There's a difference. The severe glasses lawyer shook her head. Mr. Bennett, with respect, that's the worst possible legal strategy. You'll be admitting liability, opening yourself to lawsuits, destroying any chance of controlling the narrative. The narrative is already out of our control, Noah said. Someone sent that tip. Someone who knows enough to be credible. They're going to leak it eventually. Better we get ahead of it. Better we verify first, Harwell said. Respond to facts, not allegations. By the time we verify, it'll be too late. The story will be Valion knew and hid it, instead of Valion discovered and disclosed it. You're risking the entire company on a maybe. I'm accepting that the company's already at risk and choosing transparency over cover-up. The room erupted in argument. Lawyers talking over Warren, talking over Patricia, talking over Harwell. Everyone with an opinion, everyone certain they were right. Noah's phone buzzed. Another text from Mrs. Patterson.
Maya fell asleep waiting for you. She cried a little first. Just thought you should know. Something in Noah's chest cracked. He was supposed to be home hours ago. Supposed to be there for dinner, for bedtime stories, for all the normal dad things. Instead, he was in a conference room arguing about corporate strategy while his daughter cried herself to sleep. Stop, Noah said. Nobody heard him. The argument continued, voices rising. Stop, Noah said louder. The room went quiet.
I appreciate all the advice, Noah said. The legal strategy, the risk analysis, all of it. But here's the reality. I'm here for 6 months, not 5 years, not a career, 6 months. And I'm not spending that time learning how to cover things up. He looked around the table. We go public tomorrow, full disclosure, full cooperation. We tell the truth and let the chips fall. If the board doesn't like that, find someone else. You're making this decision unilaterally? Harwell asked. You put me in charge of safety. This is a safety decision. This is a business decision. Safety is business. You just spent 5 years forgetting that. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Noah could see Harwell calculating, weighing options, deciding whether to override this. Fine, Harwell said finally. We go public tomorrow. But if this destroys the company, that's on you. I know. The meeting broke up. People filtered out, most of them looking at Noah like he'd just set the building on fire. Maybe he had. Amy caught him in the hallway. That was either really brave or really stupid. Probably both, Noah said tiredly. Can you draft a press release? Something honest, no spin, just the facts and what we're doing about it. I'll have it ready by morning. Noah made it to the parking garage before his legs gave out. He sat in his car, hands shaking, trying to process what he'd just done. In 30 seconds, he'd bet the entire company on transparency, on the belief that honesty would matter more than damage control. He had no idea if he was right. His phone rang. Lauren Vale. I don't know what you said to my sister, Lauren said, but she just called me. Actually called, not texted. Asked if we could have breakfast tomorrow. Said she wanted to talk. Really talk. That's good. That's a miracle. I don't know how you did it, but thank you. They hung up. Noah sat there thinking about two sisters reconnecting over breakfast while he'd just potentially destroyed a company. The juxtaposition felt absurd. He drove home through empty streets, his mind replaying every decision, every word, every moment he could have chosen differently. By the time he reached his building, it was past midnight. Mrs. Patterson was asleep on his couch, her reading glasses crooked. Noah covered her with a blanket and checked on Maya. She was curled up exactly how Ariana described, left side, hand under cheek, purple rabbit discarded nearby. But her face was blotchy, tear-stained. Noah picked up the rabbit and placed it carefully next to her. She stirred slightly, eyes fluttering. Daddy? Hey, baby, I'm home. You're late. I know. I'm sorry. Maya's eyes were already closing again. You're always sorry now. The words hit like a punch. Because she was right. He was always sorry, always late, always choosing the company over her, even though he swore he wouldn't. I love you, Noah whispered. Love you too, Maya mumbled, already drifting back to sleep. Noah sat there watching her breathe, thinking about promises he'd made and promises he was breaking. About the difference between doing the right thing and doing the right thing for the people who mattered most. Tomorrow the press release would go out. Tomorrow the company might implode. Tomorrow he'd find out if transparency was actually a strategy or just another word for suicide. But tonight, he was just a dad who'd made his daughter cry. And no amount of corporate heroism could fix that. Noah woke up at 6 a.m. to his phone exploding. 23 missed calls, 47 emails, text messages flooding in so fast his phone actually lagged. He grabbed it, heart pounding, certain something had gone catastrophically wrong. The first message was from Amy. Press release went out at 5 a.m. Every major outlet picked it up. You need to see this. She'd attached a link. Noah clicked it with shaking hands. The headline read, Valion CEO admits broader quality failures, vows complete transparency. Below it, the press release he'd approved last night. Simple, direct, honest to the point of being brutal. They'd received credible allegations of systematic quality failures. They were launching an immediate internal investigation. They were cooperating fully with federal regulators. Patient safety was their absolute priority, regardless of cost. The article quoted industry analysts calling it either admirably honest or corporate suicide. Wall Street hadn't opened yet, but futures trading suggested Valion stock was about to crater. Noah's phone rang. Harwell. Have you seen the coverage? Harwell asked without preamble. Yeah. Our stock is going to drop 30% when markets open, maybe 40%. Investors are panicking. 2 board members are calling for your immediate removal. Noah waited for the hammer to fall. And 3 are saying it's the most honest thing any CEO has said in a decade, Harwell continued. So we're split, which means you get to keep your job. For now. Appreciate the vote of confidence. Don't. This isn't confidence. This is chaos. But at least it's honest chaos. Harwell paused. The press wants statements, interviews. You're going to need to go on camera and explain this. When? This afternoon. I'm setting up interviews with major outlets, business channels, industry press. You're going to spend the day defending this decision. Noah thought about Maya, about another day of broken promises. I need to be home by 5, he said. The interviews will run until 7 at least. Then they run without me. I promised my daughter I'd be home for dinner. I'm keeping that promise. Mr. Bennett, this is a corporate crisis. You can't just... 5 o'clock, Mr. Harwell. Not negotiable. Silence on the line. Then, surprisingly, Harwell laughed. You're either going to save this company or destroy it. I genuinely don't know which. Makes 2 of us. Noah managed to get Maya fed and off to school before the real circus started. She'd been quiet at breakfast, picking at her cereal. You're leaving again today, she'd said. Not a question. A statement. I have to, baby, but I promise I'll be home for dinner. Real promise this time. You said that yesterday. The accusation in her voice hurt worse than any board meeting. I know, and I'm sorry I broke it, but today's different. Today, I'm keeping it. Maya had looked at him with those big eyes that saw too much. Mommy used to promise things too. Then she died and couldn't keep them. Noah's breath caught. They didn't talk about her mother often. Maya had been 3 when it happened. Her memories were fragments, feelings more than facts. I'm not going to die, sweetheart. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. She was right, of course. Nobody knew anything. Life was just a series of promises you hoped you could keep and apologies for when you couldn't. You're right, Noah said quietly. I can't promise I won't die. But I can promise I'll try really hard to be here, to keep showing up, to do my best. Is your best good enough? There it was, the question he'd been asking himself for 3 years. I don't know, Maya, but it's all I've got. She'd hugged him then, fierce and tight, before grabbing her backpack and heading out the door with Mrs. Patterson. Noah stood in the empty apartment feeling like he'd just failed a test he didn't know he was taking. The office was madness when he arrived. Reporters camped outside. Security doubled, employees either avoiding eye contact or stopping Noah in hallways to say thank you or tell him he was an idiot, or both. Amy had cleared his calendar except for the press interviews, which apparently started in an hour. Do I need to prepare anything? Noah asked. Patricia wants you to review talking points. Legal wants you to avoid certain words. PR wants you to smile more. Amy handed him a thick folder. Or you could just be yourself. That seems to be working so far. The first interview was with a business news channel. The reporter was young, aggressive, clearly smelling blood. Mr. Bennett, Critics are saying this press release was reckless, that you've destroyed shareholder value and admitted to problems you haven't even verified. How do you respond? They're right, Noah said. I did admit to problems we haven't fully verified, because waiting to verify them would have meant hiding them. And I'm not interested in hiding things. Even if it costs investors millions? Even then, investors knew medical devices came with risks. They just didn't know the risks were being buried. Now they do. That's uncomfortable, but it's honest. Some are calling for your resignation, saying you're unqualified for this position. They're also right. I am unqualified. I've been CEO for less than 2 weeks. I don't have an MBA. I don't know corporate strategy. What I do know is the difference between right and wrong, and burying safety concerns is wrong. The reporter blinked, apparently not expecting agreement. So you admit you're unqualified? I admit I'm learning, but I'd rather be an honest learner than an experienced liar. The second interview went similarly. And the third. By the fourth, Noah had stopped caring what he was supposed to say and just said what he thought. Yes, the company had problems. Yes, they'd hidden them. Yes, it was going to cost money and time and reputation to fix them. But fixing them was still better than the alternative. Between interviews, Amy kept him updated on the fallout. Stock was down 38%. 3 major investors had demanded emergency board meetings. Employee message boards were split between praising Noah's honesty and predicting the company's collapse. And then, around 2 p.m., something unexpected happened. A hospital in Oregon issued a statement praising Valeon's transparency, saying they appreciated the honesty, that they'd rather work with a company that admitted mistakes than one that hid them. Within an hour, 2 more hospitals made similar statements, then a major medical association, then patient advocacy groups. The narrative started shifting. What had been corporate suicide that morning was becoming radical transparency by afternoon. Business analysts who'd predicted disaster started grudgingly admitting that maybe, possibly, honesty might actually be a viable strategy. Harwell called at 3:30. Stocks starting to recover, still down 30%, but the bleeding stopped. Major investors are still angry, but they're listening, and we're getting calls from hospitals wanting to know more about our new quality protocols. So we're not dying? We're not thriving, but we're not dying. That's something. I'll take it. The board wants another meeting Monday. They'll want to discuss long-term strategy, sustainability, whether this transparency approach can actually work beyond crisis management. Tell them I'll be there. Noah hung up and checked his watch. 4:15. If he left now, he could make it home by 5. Keep his promise to Maya. Amy, cancel the rest of the interviews. There are 3 more scheduled. Cancel them. I'm going home. But my daughter thinks I'm going to die and leave her like her mother did. I need to prove I'm still here. Everything else can wait. Amy studied him for a moment, then nodded. Go. I'll handle it. Noah made it home at 4:58. Maya was at the kitchen table doing homework, Mrs. Patterson hovering nearby. She looked up when Noah walked in, and her eyes went wide. You came home. I promised. Maya launched herself at him, homework forgotten. Noah caught her, holding tight, feeling her small body shake slightly. I thought you'd be late again, she whispered. Not today, baby. Today I kept my promise. Mrs. Patterson quietly gathered her things and left. Noah and Maya stayed there in the kitchen, holding each other, neither quite ready to let go. Can we make dinner together? Maya asked. Like we used to? Yeah, what do you want to make? Spaghetti. With the sauce that gets everywhere. They made spaghetti. It got everywhere. Sauce on the walls, on their clothes, somehow on the ceiling. Maya laughed so hard she got hiccups. Noah burned the garlic bread and dropped an entire pot of pasta water in the sink. It was perfect. After dinner, after bath time, after 3 stories and 2 glasses of water and 1 more trip to the bathroom, Maya finally settled into bed. Daddy, are you going to keep being the boss? For a little while longer, a few more months. Then what? Then we go back to normal. Just you and me. No more late nights, no more broken promises. Can we get a dog? The question came out of nowhere. Noah blinked. A dog? When things go back to normal, I want a dog. A big one who can protect us. Noah thought about their small apartment, about vet bills and walking schedules and all the complications a dog would bring. Yeah, baby, when things go back to normal, we can get a dog. Maya smiled and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep.
Noah sat there watching her, thinking about promises and priorities and what actually mattered. The company would survive or it wouldn't. The board would keep him or they wouldn't. But Maya would remember whether he'd been there, whether he'd kept his word, whether he'd chosen her. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number.
Saw your interviews today. You're going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. Good. Ariana. Noah almost replied, then decided not to. Some conversations didn't need continuing. Some moments could just exist and then end. Monday's board meeting was different. The hostility was gone, replaced by something more complex. Wariness mixed with grudging respect. The board had seen the coverage, seen the public response, seen that maybe, possibly, transparency might actually work. The stock has stabilized, Warren reported, still down 22% overall, but recovering. Investor calls suggest people appreciate the honesty, even if they don't like the news. Hospital contracts, Harwell asked. Patricia spoke up. 3 on hold indefinitely, but we've had inquiries from 5 new facilities specifically because of our new quality protocols. They like that we're being proactive. What about the internal investigation? This from one of the board members who'd wanted Noah fired. Ongoing, Noah said. We've identified 43 products across 7 different lines with potential quality issues, some minor, some significant. We're retesting everything and implementing new oversight protocols. That's going to take months. Yeah, but it'll be done right. At what cost? $15 million in retests, another 10 in delayed shipments, maybe 25 total. Noah met the board member's eyes. Still less than 1 wrongful death lawsuit. The room went quiet. Harwell spoke up. Mr. Bennett's contract is for 6 months. We need to discuss what happens after that. Whether this approach is sustainable with permanent leadership. I'm not interested in permanent leadership, Noah said. We know. But the company needs stability. A long-term vision. Someone who understands corporate strategy. Then find that person. I'm here to fix what's broken and implement systems that prevent it from breaking again. After that, you need someone better suited for the job. Do you have someone in mind? Noah thought about the people he'd met over the past 2 weeks. The department heads, the quality control inspectors, the employees who'd been trying to do good work in a broken system. Marcus Webb, Noah said, from quality control. He's been here 12 years, knows the technical side better than anyone. And more importantly, he's not afraid to say when something's wrong. He's QC, not executive leadership. Then promote him, train him, give him the support he needs, but get someone who actually understands what matters. The board members exchanged glances. We'll consider it, Harwell said. In the meantime, you still have 4.5 months. What's your plan? Finish the investigation. Implement the new protocols. Make sure they're actually working. Then hand everything over to whoever you choose and go back to my regular life. Just like that? Just like that. After the meeting, Amy found Noah in his temporary office. You really meant it, about leaving. Yeah. Most people would leverage this into something permanent, a better position, more money. I don't want more money. I want my life back. Amy smiled sadly. That's why you're good at this. You're not trying to be anyone. You're just being yourself and letting the chips fall. Is that a compliment or an insult? Both, probably. The next 4 months weren't easy. The investigation uncovered more problems than Noah wanted to find. Some were minor calibration issues. Others were serious design flaws that had been overlooked or ignored. Every discovery meant more delays, more costs, more difficult conversations with investors and hospitals and regulators. But slowly, painfully, things improved. Employee surveys showed people felt safer reporting concerns. Quality metrics improved. Hospital feedback became more positive. The stock recovered to within 10% of its original value. Not perfect, but stable. Noah worked 3 days a week from the office and 2 from home, usually with Maya doing homework at his makeshift desk. Board meetings became less hostile, more collaborative. Marcus Webb accepted the promotion to Vice President of Quality and Operations, with the understanding he'd be groomed for CEO. And Ariana Vale disappeared from the news cycle entirely. Noah heard through Lauren that she'd taken a job teaching business ethics at a small college, that she was seeing her family regularly, that she seemed happier, or at least less destroyed. He never reached out. Some connections existed to serve a purpose and then ended.
That was okay. The last day arrived with less fanfare than Noah expected.
There was a small gathering in the conference room, cake, awkward speeches. Amy cried a little. Marcus shook Noah's hand and thanked him for trusting someone without an MBA. Patricia gave him a coffee mug that said, "World's Okayest CEO." "It's perfect," Noah said. Harwell pulled him aside before he left. "You did something remarkable here," Harwell said. "You made people care about doing the right thing. That's rare." "I just told the truth. That shouldn't be remarkable."
But it is. And that says more about the business world than either of us probably want to admit.
Harwell extended his hand. "Thank you, Noah, for saving this company from itself." They shook. Noah grabbed his box of personal items, which wasn't much, and headed for the elevator. On the way down, he passed the same security guard who'd checked him in that first day. "Heading out for good?" the guard asked. "Yeah. For what it's worth, you did good. My wife works in QC. She says people actually listen now when she raises concerns. That matters." "Thanks." Noah made it to the parking garage before the weight of it all hit him. 6 months. 6 impossible, exhausting, terrifying months. And somehow, against every odd, he'd actually done it. He sat in his car and called Maya's school.
"Hi, this is Noah Bennett. I'm calling to let you know I'll be picking up my daughter every day from now on. Yes, every day. No, I don't need aftercare anymore. I'll be there at 3. The school secretary sounded surprised but pleased. Noah hung up and just breathed for a minute. It was over. Actually over. He could go back to being just a dad. Just Noah. No more board meetings, no more press interviews, no more impossible decisions about other people's lives. His phone buzzed one last time. A text from a number he'd deleted but still recognized. "Heard today was your last day. Congratulations on getting your life back. Use it better than I used mine." Noah stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. "Already planning on it. Good luck with the teaching." He deleted the thread and drove home. Maya was at Mrs. Patterson's when he arrived, working on an art project that involved more glitter than any human should possess. "Daddy, you're early."
"Not early, right on time. And guess what? From now on, I'm picking you up from school every single day." Maya's face lit up. "Every day?" "Every day." "Can we still get a dog?" Noah laughed. "Yeah, baby, we can still get a dog." 2 weeks later, they adopted a mutt from the shelter. Part golden retriever, part something else entirely, all enthusiasm and slobber. Maya named him Biscuit. He immediately destroyed Noah's favorite shoes and ate half the couch. Noah didn't even care. They fell into a rhythm. School pickup, homework, dog walks, dinner together every night, weekend trips to parks and museums and anywhere Maya wanted to go. Normal life, beautiful, boring, normal life. One Saturday afternoon, about a month after leaving Valion, Noah ran into Ariana at a farmer's market. She looked different, jeans and a sweater, hair down, no makeup. More like the sister in the photo than the CEO who'd dismissed him. "Noah," she said, surprised. "Ariana, how's the teaching?" "Weird, good weird. I'm terrible at it, but I'm learning." She smiled, and it looked genuine. "How's civilian life?" "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." They stood there awkwardly, two people whose lives had collided catastrophically and then diverged. "I saw the latest reports," Ariana said. "Valion's quality metrics are the highest in the industry now. Marcus is doing well." "He is. He actually cares about the work, not just the title. Must be nice." No bitterness in her voice, just observation. "I cared about the title so much I forgot about the work. Took losing everything to remember what mattered." "And what's that?" Ariana looked around the market, at families shopping, kids laughing, people just living their lives without the weight of corporate warfare. "This," she said simply, "just being human. It's enough." "Yeah," Noah agreed. "It is." They said goodbye. Noah watched her walk away, thinking about the complicated ways people learned and changed and sometimes became better versions of themselves. Maya tugged his hand. "Was that the mean lady?" "That was Ariana. She's not mean anymore. Just trying to figure things out." "Like you did?" "Yeah, baby, like I did." They bought vegetables and fresh bread and cheese that Biscuit would probably try to eat. Normal Saturday things. Nothing dramatic, nothing life-changing, just life. That night, after Maya was asleep, and Biscuit was sprawled across the couch like he owned it, Noah sat by the window looking at the city. Somewhere out there, Valion was still operating. Marcus was probably working late. The board was probably arguing about quarterly projections. The machine kept running, but Noah wasn't part of it anymore. He'd walked into that company to stop people from dying. He'd stayed long enough to fix what was broken, and then he'd left before the job could consume him like it had consumed Ariana. He thought about his wife sometimes, about the promise he'd made at her funeral, that her death would mean something, that he'd make sure no other family went through what they'd gone through. He'd kept that promise. Not perfectly, not without mistakes, but he'd kept it. And now he could keep the promises that mattered more, to be there for Maya, to show up, to choose the small, important moments over the big, impressive ones. His phone buzzed. A news alert about Valion announcing record safety compliance scores. The article mentioned Noah's tenure briefly, crediting his transparency initiative with changing the culture. Noah closed the alert without reading further. That was someone else's story now, someone else's achievement. He'd played his part and exited stage left, which was exactly what he'd intended. Maya appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, I had a bad dream." Noah scooped her up, carrying her back to bed. "Want to talk about it?" "You left and didn't come back." "I'm here, baby. I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" Noah thought about all the promises people make and break, about the difference between promising to be perfect and promising to try. "I promise I'll always do my best to be here. And when I mess up, I promise I'll say sorry and do better. Okay?" Maya considered this, then nodded. "Okay." She fell back asleep quickly, her hand gripping his shirt. Noah stayed there until his arm went numb, unwilling to move, unwilling to risk waking her. This was what mattered. Not board meetings, not stock prices, not saving companies or being heroes. Just being there. Just showing up. Just loving someone enough to keep choosing them over everything else. Outside, the city kept moving. Companies rose and fell. People succeeded and failed and learned and grew. The world turned indifferent to individual stories. But in this small apartment, with his daughter sleeping peacefully and his dog snoring on the couch, Noah had everything that mattered. He'd walked into a corporate war carrying his sleeping child and walked out with his integrity intact. He'd told the truth when lies were easier. He'd chosen transparency over self-preservation. He'd fixed what was broken and left before the fixing consumed him. And now he was just a dad again. Just Noah. Making dinner and walking the dog and showing up for school pickups. Some people would call that ordinary. Noah called it victory, because at the end of every complicated story, the simple things were what survived. Love, presence, promises kept. The choice to show up, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Ariana had learned it too late, but at least she'd learned it. The company didn't love you back. Success without humanity was just expensive emptiness. And the people who mattered most were usually the ones waiting at home, hoping you'd remember to come back. Noah had remembered. He'd come back, and he wasn't leaving again. Years later, when people asked Maya about her dad, she wouldn't talk about the CEO who'd saved Valion Medical Systems. She wouldn't mention the whistleblower or the board meetings or any of it. She'd just say her dad was someone who kept his promises, someone who chose her, someone who understood that being there mattered more than being important. And Noah would smile, knowing that of all the things he'd done, all the decisions he'd made, choosing Maya was the only one that would last. The rest was just noise. Important noise, maybe. Necessary noise. But noise nonetheless. This was what echoed. This quiet moment, this simple choice, this ordinary life that was actually extraordinary because he'd chosen it over everything else. And that, in the end, was enough.